Welcome to the Dojotalkpodcast. Please remove them shoes before entry. The master is here, and you still have not taken off your shoes.
Yeah. Yo, living every day to define man's mission. Look into the sky for divine transmission. Deaf man's vision makes the blind man listen. Eyes on the prize, this is blind ambition. Thank you. Blind ambition. Blind ambition.
I would take Stokes over TJ.
Oh, man.
It depends on the rules, actually. It depends on the rule set.
Backyard, just surrounded by grass, unlimited time.
Would Stokes versus TJ in the backyard, or even in the front yard, would that be a bigger MMA event than Scott Ferozzo against Tank Abbott in somebody's vineyard?
Oh, God. I try to forget about that.
You're right?
Ugh.
I'm sorry. Start recording now. Let's start with
Yeah, this whole thing's been recorded.
Perfect. I'm glad that it's in there.
I was trying to think, where do I want to start?
You've already started.
I guess so. We'll just go.
I mean, I'm just kind of thinking about it now in my head.
Oh, man. Welcome to the latest edition of the Dojo Talk Podcast. We're on episode number 97.
Man.
As you guys can hear, we've been recording for nearly an hour, about 43 minutes before this episode even started. I'm your host, Serial Sensei. I'm joined with the Anti-Cool, and we are also joined with Joey. How's everybody doing?
I'm still fucked up.
I'm good. I'm sick, and I got bit by a spider, so I'm good.
Oh, man. Okay, yeah. So just so you guys know, I guess all three of us have not had the best last couple of days. I lost my head. I didn't lose my headphones. I left my headphones at work, so I'm recording now with my backup pair of headphones, which I can only hear out of the right side of my ear. So that's not fun. And my job made me go to a mandatory meeting on Sunday, which is normally my off day. So I've just been in kind of a bitter mood like all weekend.
I just punched my mic. Perfect.
So yeah, this week has not gotten off to the best start. But Joey got bit by a spider, so I think you one upped me on that one.
Yeah. No bees though. I got bees and I are okay.
There we go. And Anti-Cool, you got caught with a speeding ticket. So yeah.
He may have passed on because I haven't heard him for the past.
Yeah, I'm good.
Right.
You know what it was? You brought up the Tank Abbott backyard fight.
Yeah.
And then I remembered the Kimbo Slice, Sean Gannon basement fight.
Oh, God.
Kimbo's
that-
now. Go ahead.
And then I remembered that Sean Gannon fought in the UFC.
Oh, I see. So it was like a loophole.
Yes.
Well, so did.
I thought
well,
Sean
so did
Gannon
Tank-
and
go
Kimbo
ahead.
was in like a gym, though.
I'm sorry?
Or am I thinking of another fight?
They did fight in a gym.
Didn't they fight in a gym?
Did they fight in the gym or did
Yeah,
they
but
fight
like-
in somebody's basement?
No, that was in a
could've
gym
been a
because like
basement that was a gym.
wasn't the floor was padded, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They fought in the Hammer House. I think we've confirmed it now.
Okay.
Okay, but
Basement sounds better anyway, though.
it's unfortunate Kimbo has passed. But now I'm imagining like the Sakuraba tag team grappling thing. So like Kimbo and Scott Ferozzo against Tank Abbott and Sean Gannon in like the in like Sakuraba's wacky Royal Rumble Survivor Series style like grappling tournament.
Oh boy.
So wait a minute, hold on then. Was Scott Ferozzo Tank Abbott the first ever BBQ fight? Like of our BBQ fight league?
Oh man, yeah, that might have been like the catalyst.
I mean,
Right.
I can't think of two more.
Deserving. Two more deserving, two more fitting gentlemen.
Exactly.
Oh man, barbecue fight league. This might have to be a real thing. We might have to. Yeah, we'll have to invite them to like the first event, and they don't have to pay for entry.
They do have to pay for food though.
Yeah, everybody has to pay.
I'm not fucking.
No, you gotta bring your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out though. Barbecue Fight League is that's gonna be a real thing at some point, and we'll be terrible people for making it, but you'll watch it. So.
That's MMA, isn't it?
Dude, has anybody done a Kickstarter back like fight event?
No.
Let's find out.
Oh man.
Go ahead, you guys kill some time.
Oh man. All right, yeah. While you're researching that, since we didn't do it last week, we'll run through the top cities for listeners. Coming in at number 1, San Francisco, California. Coming in at number 2, Los Angeles, California. Coming in at number 3, we got Juneau, Alaska. Coming in at number 4, Mountain View, California. And coming in at number 5, Circleville, Ohio. And just outside number 5 was London in the UK.
Hey.
So thank you guys for listening. As always, you can listen to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes. If you're on iTunes, please rate and subscribe. Send questions to dojotalkpodcast@yahoo.com. And follow me on Twitter @SerialSensei. And you can hit us up also on the Dojo Talk Podcast Facebook page, which if you just go to Facebook, just type in Dojo Talk Podcast, and you can find us there also. Did you find it? Are there any?
I've got one.
You got one?
Pakistani MMA Fighting Alliance.
Yes.
No.
I know. Wait. I know those guys.
PAK MMA?
Yes, dude. They used to be on Dude, they used to be on like Sherdog and Tumblr and shit.
Oh, they're here.
But I remember because I was like, I wonder what like if there's MMA in the Middle East, and like they had like a Vice special and everything like that about the league and everything. And then eventually their owner fought and won. Like in the early days of One Championship, he fought for them.
Sweet. Good.
So do they still like put on shows?
I don't know, but
this is from 2013, and they got $1,000 of their $10,000 goal.
That's admirable. But
what would be the barbecue league goal? Like, what's our startup fee? How much do you think we need?
$100,000.
Keep in mind, we have to pay for food. If I know somebody who lives in the apartment complex, we can just borrow they can rent out the grill.
No, but like, hold on. If I remember correctly, and I might not remember correctly, the barbecue fight league theme was you get the grill. Like if you have to, if I remember correctly, it was you.
I know you get the grill and the girl. You get the grill.
Yeah,
and
the grill
you
get the wife.
Yeah, and you take your opponent's wife and kids.
Well, I mean,
if it's a tournament, are you really like you're gonna end up with like 8 wives? Like that's a lot of money.
And it's a lot of money.
We'll work out the.
Also, that assumes these fighters are going to be married.
You get the skeezer then.
Jesus Christ. We'll figure out logistics.
Listen, every MMA fighter has a skeezer on. Like, come on now. They didn't get into fighting. They got into fighting to get skeezers. That's why you go into these male and female alike. That's why you do this.
Well, we'll figure out the barbecue fight league logistics.
Jeez.
I don't even know if you call it logistics, but
okay. If they don't have a wife or a husband, you get the dog.
Oh man.
Oh god,
that's boo. I mean, that makes the fights interesting though, man. That's high stakes.
You get the wife. Oh, okay. You get the dog. Whoa, now.
Well, like the wife can file for divorce.
Yeah, the dog has no legal representation.
You have to hand the dog over to you.
There's got to be like a ceremony. Is that what you're saying?
Like you have to watch this man take your dog from you.
Right, like blood is pouring from your nose, your eyes swollen, and you
like
watch
he just puts it in the back of his pickup truck and drives away.
Oh
I'm
man,
getting big boss man flashbacks now.
Oh
Seth's
man.
not laughing because he doesn't get that reference, but someone else got that reference and they broke into laughter.
Oh god.
Mm.
Barbecue Fight League. It's coming by 2020. Yeah, it'll be a real thing.
You get the dog, you get the wife, the riding mower.
But I'm proud of myself because I took decent notes this week. So I'm gonna run through my list of notes and fight announcements because I actually tried to take some initiative and do them because I normally am terrible at these.
I might drink. Go on.
But yeah, I'll run through these and then I'll just run through the list and then we'll go back and talk about some of these in specific because I'm pretty sure we'll have some opinions one way or another on some of these announcements. But biggest announcement, as I'm sure you guys have heard, Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov will be going down at UFC 229. Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier will allegedly go down at UFC 230. We'll come back to that. Nikita Krylov is back. He will be fighting Jan Blachowicz at UFC Fight Night in Moscow. Glover Teixeira will be taking on Jimmy Manuwa at UFC Sao Paulo. I believe that is the headliner for that card. At UFC New Brunswick, we will have Volkan Oezdemir and Anthony Smith. At UFC Sao Paulo, we'll have Renan Barao and Andre Ewell. Other fights for 229, Ray Borg and Joseph Benavidez versus... Oh, hold up. Let me start over. I completely botched that. Ray Borg versus Joseph Benavidez. Also on 229, Sergio Pettis versus Jussier Formiga. Francisco Trinaldo will be taking on Evan Dunham, or at least they verbally agreed to at the Sao Paulo card. UFC will be making its first trip to Beijing on November 24th. I don't know if they have any fights planned for that card yet, but I think this is their first time going to Beijing. And Invicta FC strawweight title fight will be going down September 1st. The champion, Vienna Jandiroba, will be taking on I'm going to butcher this name. I don't know if this is Janicia or Jana Isa Morandin.
I think it's just nice.
Janice? We'll go with that. That's easier to say.
The woman who had who Hannibal Buress paid to put his face on her shorts.
There we go. So that's going down September 1st. PFL 6, Kayla Harrison finally has another fight. She'll be fighting Gisette Cotton. And in boxing, we have Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. And then real quick, Bellator just recently put out their Grand Prix welterweight fights. So on the left side of the bracket, we have Douglas Lima versus Andrei Koreshkov and Paul Daly versus MVP. On the right side of the bracket, we have Neiman Gracie versus Ed Ruth, and champion Roy McDonald will be taking on John Fitch. And alternate fight, so I'm not sure if like the winner of this is an alternate or whatever. It's just listed as an alternate fight. Lorenz Larkin and Yaroslav Amasov. So those are all of the fight announcements and such. So which one of these do we want to talk about first? We won't go through all of them, but some of these definitely deserve to be expanded upon.
So, Joey, you pointed out this to me earlier. Ray Borg has like a court order against Conor McGregor, right?
Yeah.
Like a restraining order?
Yeah, I believe that is the case. Although those can be worked around.
I mean...
But it is interesting. Silly, dare I say.
Like, I mean, the way they book flyweight, Ray Borg and Joseph Benavidez might be the first fight of the night. And by the time Conor rolls around, he'll be gone. So
he'll be out of there. I bet you any money in the world Conor McGregor has no idea what Ray Borg looks like. So they could be in the same room together, and I don't know if he'd know who he is.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like that's pretty weird booking. The Bellator Grand Prix, I had a chance to take a look at it earlier. It really feels like they're trying to get MVP versus Rory at the end of it, doesn't it? Because MVP has nothing but strikers, although Lima can do whatever. Like, Lima's pretty well-rounded. And on the other side, it's Rory McDonald against whatever remains of John Fitch, and then two guys who probably aren't ready for this level of competition. So to me, it feels like the goal is Rory versus MVP.
Yeah, and
Which is fine.
Fair enough, because they've invested in him for like almost 6 years now.
Yeah. Like I don't take offense to it at all. I don't think it's shameful marketing or shameful matchmaking. It's just that jumped out to me.
I guess I'm the lone shark. I don't think it's so much Roy versus MVP. I just think it's Roy is our champ, and we want him to stay champ. So we're definitely going to give him the easiest route. And then I also thought of this, like, I don't know if they maybe did this in the meeting, but you know in any sport how they do like seedings.
Mm-hmm.
So normally if you're the champ, you have the easiest, or if you're the top seed, like in basketball, like you're the number 1, you play the number 16 or the number 8, depending on if it's college or whatever. But normally your top guy has the easiest route up. And then I figure, we all figure, unless some miracle happens, Roy should make it to the top of that bracket. And I think any fight on this left side is a fight that they can market, at least in some way.
Oh, for sure.
So I think whoever comes out of the left, whether it be MVP or whoever, it'll be a fun matchup that people will be interested in. Because if these were flipped, I don't think you want like if Roy was on one side and Fitch was on another, and somehow Fitch got to the top, that's not a final. I don't think anybody's really excited about.
No, I don't for sure. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think it's a little transparent, but there's nothing wrong with that. Like this is the fight game. You're trying to, what's up?
Like no, I'm sorry. Like, why on God's green earth is like Fitch in this tournament?
Because they signed him, and he's from California.
Well, he performed his hitman duties, and I guess
that was his reward.
This was the agreement. This was the reward. We throw you in the tournament.
So one overriding theme. I don't think it's wrong to suggest that MMA on every level in 2018 has been, interest-wise, kind of down. So between this tournament kicking off in the fall, Conor McGregor against Khabib in October, what seems like a pretty big November, likely into a pretty big December, like this is going to be an important test for what the combat sports fan is in 2018. Going forward, as we're kind of looking at potentially having MMA almost off TV, because we don't know if Bellator is going to hang around on Paramount for much longer. And we know the UFC has 22 shows for ESPN planned in 2019. So we may be looking at an MMA that's not even on your television for much longer. So I guess that's kind of why I'm a little intrigued by what the fan interest is going to be for these events. Because 2018 hasn't been great, and some of these cards are looking really good. So if this tournament can generate positive momentum for Bellator, and if UFC 229 can generate positive momentum for the UFC, I'm going to be a little concerned.
I think they'll make out okay.
No, I'm not saying
I'm gonna be optimistic and say I think they, not to say that still things might not change. I feel like everybody now is, well, I don't know what the UFC is gonna do, but I feel like everybody, well, I guess even them with the ESPN deal, like streaming is just the new wave now.
We gotta hope.
Yeah, so like you might be right. Like these might not be on TV, but they'll just, instead of being on regular television, it'll just be up on some streaming service that you have to.
I'm not
take
saying
out money for.
I'm not trying to say the situation's dire. Just that if these shows don't do numbers that are relatively respectful to what they should be, like Conor McGregor, Khabib, they're talking 2 million buys. The Bellator, they're clearly putting this tournament together to generate some kind of interest because their TV numbers are so flat. So for me, what these shows do is going to paint a picture of what we're going to probably get in 2019. So I'm concerned but not worried, I guess.
It might be like a turning point.
Yeah, like cuz
after this year, people are going to have to like rethink their strategies on like how they're promoting fights and maybe just thinking of new ways to get fighters out there, so on and so forth, and things like that.
Yeah, and Cole, you remember 2014, right? Like you remember?
Oh, God.
Oh, okay. You remember how the year was really bad, and then they announced Cormier Jones, and it got pushed back, but that was kind of like the turn for MMA that year.
Yeah.
So I guess like to me, that's how I'm viewing what Khabib Conor should be. If this turns a corner, I'm gonna feel a little bit more comfortable with what MMA is in 2019.
Like, Just going back to like 2014, like none of the problems that ruined that year have been solved.
No, that for sure.
And it's just not. I don't even think the word's disheartening. It's just like a kick in the gut, where it's just like, okay, this is what your sport is,
Right.
and
But
this is how it will always fall apart.
yeah, but like 2014, I felt like Bellator had good momentum. This year, they're just like everything's on so flat for them.
I thought that for a while they were. I don't know. I envisioned them being on like the up and up. Like I felt like the UFC was kind of. I don't know. Like in the when UFC's like free. Well, all right. Some would argue maybe it's always been a freak show, but
It has never stopped.
Yeah, but like there was a point where I think like even casual fans started to notice like, okay, clearly rankings don't matter anymore. Like we're kind of just it's like the Wild Wild West. Like we're just throwing fights together just because, even though they don't make sense. Like I thought at like the beginning of that, like that was Bellator's time to like, make their leap, their step forward, and like I don't know what happened. Like they made the step forward and then like they tripped, and I don't know if they've gotten back up yet. Like I don't know what's and it's
good.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's not even that like I don't know. I don't know what they're. I don't know. I just don't. Bellator seems to always somehow. You think they're gonna like do good, and they find a way to just like, kind of. I don't know if underwhelm's the word, but like they don't make the leap that you think they're gonna make. Like they either fall or they're just kind of like stagnant. Like they just flatline out. It doesn't really move the needle one way or another. They're just kind of there.
Like, how much of this just has to do with the fact that there's a UFC card every week nowadays?
It's possible, but then again, I mean, I think they had that kind of pattern since 2014. So, and the ratings were like, I can't remember who it was on Twitter. I wish I could remember his thing, but I think all but 2 Bellator events this year have done under 500,000 viewers live.
Yeah.
So that's just not a healthy number. Like, there's no way you can remain in that spot.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I want to say interest hasn't gone down because you get those like DVR or the DV6 numbers, and they come back and they're like, oh yeah, they went over 1 million or they hit 800,000. But people just don't tune in live for Bellator.
Yeah, but if you're going to be okay, all right. If you're going to be a sport, and that is I guess the flexible point. But if you're going to be a sport, you have to be destination programming. You have to be watched live.
Yeah, and I don't get like how Bellator turns that corner. I guess I'm saying.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you about that either. Like I think the way they turn the corner, which is the ultimate irony of MMA, they need the UFC to turn the corner. Because I think that the UFC generally, when the UFC's up, everybody else is up because it's MMA interest. So until the UFC kind of turns the corner themselves, I think Bellator is going to be left finding a spot. And neither organization's dying. They're making Bellator's going to make probably more than it's ever made with this streaming deal. And the UFC is clearly going to make more than it's ever made with its deal. It's just
the UFC is going to post a record number this year.
Oh, for sure. Like at profit-wise, maybe not revenue-wise, but profit-wise. But it's just a very strange, like, I'm looking at this October to January has to be big for MMA, in my opinion. Because if the biggest fight of the year can't generate any momentum, then what will?
Well, I was going to say, I guess just to segue into some of these fights, Conor and Khabib, 229. All right, so I'm going to be the guy to say this. And this isn't just in reference to Conor versus Khabib. This kind of goes for all of these fights that got announced. I have this feeling that one of these fights isn't going to happen. Like, the MMA gods are very cruel, and all the time, we've seen this every year. We get hyped for a fight, we go crazy, we think it's going to be the greatest thing ever. two days before the fight happens, somebody's injured, somebody fell in a bathtub or something crazy, and the fights don't happen.
Once a year. That's like once. That's like once a
Once a
month.
week. Once a week.
Once a week.
I will say to Sensei's point, I'm not worried about Conor Khabib yet because I refuse to allow myself to be worried about it. But it's not like Khabib Nurmagomedov has the world's most sterling track record of making it to fight night.
There are 2 weeks. There are 2 full months where McGregor can do something stupid and get himself suspended or arrested or whatever. And there's I said this when he won the title, but there's every chance in the world that Khabib becomes the first UFC champion to lose his title on the scale.
No, but it's absolutely accurate. Like it's not he's not wrong. So it's possible, but let's be optimistic.
Like literally until this is one of those things where until these two are in the cage and they actually ring the bell, because I can imagine one of them throwing a punch before the bell and getting the fight called off.
Right.
Until that happens.
Right.
I don't believe it's going to happen.
And to both of your points, not to interrupt, but to both of your points, Nate Diaz, Dustin Poirier didn't even make it through the press conference.
Right.
So clearly, we're dealing with forces beyond normal means.
Well, sticking on the optimistic side. All right, so we're just gonna assume that the MMA gods will be kind and they will allow this fight to take place. Who are we rolling with? I know everybody's been. This has been a fight that's just been talked about for a long time. I think this is one of the most intriguing fights you'll ever see in the sport, like just style wise. So who are we picking?
I'm going with Khabib.
You say decision, finish?
Submission.
Submission.
3rd or 4th round submission.
Everything. I feel like everything's Khabib's way right now. Like if we're talking just momentum, one guy's been fighting and another guy's just been fighting in court. So.
And buses. Don't forget buses.
Buses.
Yeah.
And
he's been buses, referees.
Yeah. Like to me, it's got to be Khabib. But I do agree with people who do think Conor can win because he's such a weird stylistic matchup for Khabib, and Khabib is such a. Conor's going to make the argument that he's fought guys like Khabib before, and he kind of hasn't. But we haven't seen a wrestler give Conor McGregor serious trouble. You can point to Chad Mendes for about a round. But even then, when Conor was being held down, he was doing most of the damage. And Eddie Alvarez can wrestle and has shown that he's a capable clinch wrestler. But I don't think Conor's fought anybody like Khabib.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he hasn't. Yeah, this is a different. Yeah. He's a different breed. He's cut from he's cut from another cloth.
And so I'm kind of like.
Yeah,
I'm going Khabib because I don't trust Conor to have more than 15 minutes in him.
Yeah, I've flip-flopped kind of back and forth because Conor definitely has a chance to win. Like that left hand is just so, it's like there's just a bomb in there, just waiting to unload at any moment. But I don't know. I think Khabib. Yeah, and I didn't even think about that before. Like if this fight goes into the later rounds, I don't trust Conor's gas tank to carry him till the 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah, because he's so quick twitch, and most of his game is reflex and timing based, and those tend to go. It's weird because I think Conor would beat Khabib, but I think Tony Ferguson would beat Khabib. I mean, I think Khabib beats Conor, and I think that Tony Ferguson would beat Khabib, but I think that Conor would beat Tony Ferguson.
Yeah.
So it's like a very these are the highest of the highest level guys.
And for the I think we're done seeing prime Tony.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. Just the injuries, it and just eventually that's just gonna stop working. The whole recovery, and I got my ass kicked for 5 minutes. Let me hop back in this fight. I don't know, but It's just something that feels different about when it's your knees, you know?
Knees, neck, and back. I think
Yeah.
are genuinely the. But I will say this: Tony Ferguson has said that he is a Wolverine, and I believe Wolverine does have healing. I believe he does have healing capabilities.
Oh yeah, for
so-
sure. Believe me, if anybody can come back from what putting himself through hell like Tony Ferguson has, they deserve like they deserve like belief. Our confidence.
Yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah, and
But-
it could absolutely be even argued that in his time away, Dustin Poirier has leapt over Tony Ferguson in terms of relevance and all that.
Yep.
So we will definitely get to that. But yeah, I'm rolling with Habib too. To throw that out there.
What would be the
But-
co-main event if you guys were booking this? What's the co-main event for that fight?
I forgot. Is this in Vegas, right?
Yes, sir.
The effed up thing is, I would say, if I got my choice, it would be Thug Rose versus Andrade, but that's not happening. So,
Probably not.
I don't know.
Can you throw DC in there? I feel like he just fought.
Somebody's got a
Well, he
headline
didn't
in New
really-
York.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
God, like I honest to God, I can't think of anybody. Like Cejudo?
If
Like
it
this-
was, this is my like. If I was doing this, and I know that this show is going to do a major number, I'm begging Mackenzie Dern to make 115, and I would put her in the co-main spot. Because nobody else, there's never going to be a show that you can put on that's going to have that spotlight. And if you think she's a big star, could be a big star, I would put her in that spot. But it's just, you can't trust her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
God.
another title fight's not going to add any more bias to this. It's not, you know, you're not going to, it's not going to be like if you add, because my first thought when I was thinking about this was Moraes against Dillashaw. But if you add that fight, it doesn't sell anymore. And does Dillashaw need another spotlight on him?
Well, I was gonna say, so I'm not sure what like Holloway's timetable is, or like how much longer he's expected to be out.
That would be cool.
I was gonna say in the meantime, if he's still not available, could you make like a Ortega Aldo just to keep them? Well, I don't know if they would want that fight, but I don't know.
Could Aldo make 145 on the dot anymore? I think Anna Cole said that there was like some serious concerns about
So
his weight cut, right?
he basically got down to like spitting distance to make like the weight limit, and Andre Pettis had to lie to him and say that most fighters who miss weight lose their fight, because literally they were on the elevator down to weigh-ins. Like Andre Pettis just kind of pulls him over to the corner. It's just like, most of the dudes who miss weight lose their fight, and then Aldo's like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna hop back in the tub.
Does Aldo not have Google?
I don't think Aldo pays attention to MMA.
Well, dude, didn't you ever hear the Aldo story where like Mendez and McGregor, where they asked him what he was doing during that fight?
No, what did he say?
He was watching porno. They were like, "What did you do? Like, what were you doing while it was happening?" He was like, "I didn't even know what was going on. I was watching porn."
Good job, Aldo.
Like
I don't know.
You couldn't have like more different, like for the past 3 featherweight champions. You couldn't be more different. Like when Max Holloway was coming up, like he legitimately was talking about like he didn't watch MMA and he didn't know who the champion was in his own division.
Yeah, I do remember that being an issue.
Oh man.
And then you have freaking McGregor who hops on stage and is like just starts shooting off people's like heights and reaches from memory. He got them all right too.
And then you have
And then you have Aldo who could not care less
about anything in life. Live life like Jose Aldo.
Oh man.
But
We'll
yeah,
see though. But
there's like no co-main event that I could think of that makes sense.
I think though. I want to hope because they obviously know this card is going to be huge. So I'm pretty sure they'll throw something fun together. Like, I don't, even if it's not another title fight, I think we'll get I don't know about the prelims, but we should get a pretty good main card out of this card. You gotta take advantage of all the odds you're gonna have. So we'll see how that goes. But that's pretty much all the news and notes for the week. I guess real quick, won't really dive into it, but PFL 5 went down on some day that I don't have. Oh, I don't have the date. I didn't know the card, but PFL went down. I think it was like last week.
It happened. A show happened.
Yeah, it happened. Just a few notable fights. Main event, Nathan Schultz submitted Jason Hive via rear naked choke. Vinny Magalhaes TKO Brendan Halsey. Didn't he catch him with a head kick? I don't know if any of you guys watched that fight.
He did.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, he sent Halsey to the afterlife. Will Brooks defeated Will Brooks defeated Robert Watley via unanimous decision. I didn't see the fight, but I heard he got booed afterwards. So that happened.
Sounds like a Will Brooks fight.
Well, I don't know if anybody. Well, I'll just run through the rest of these. Maxim Grisham submitted Rakim Cleveland. Rashid Magomedov defeated Luis Firmino. Chris Wade defeated Yuki Kawana. That the sequence to that fight, like the opening sequence, was really crazy. Chris Wade did like the Enter the Dragon kick, and I don't know what Yuki was trying to do, but like neither one of them really landed fully. But you could tell they were trying to go for a highlight. But Dan Spoon, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, defeated Artur Abiledov, and Thiago Tavares defeated Arthur Estra Ulas via split decision. But so that went down. That was PFL 5. So we'll just get on over to the main event of the evening while we're all gathered here. UFC 227, Dillashaw versus Garbrandt 2. I'll just say real quick, overall, this card was pretty awesome, top to bottom. Minus one fight that hurt my feelings, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But we will start from the top. TJ Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt. Obviously, you've been paying attention. You know the rivalry between these two, all that good stuff. I didn't think this fight was going to end in the first round. I picked TJ to win, but I thought it would be like a bit more competitive, and I thought it would maybe go 2 rounds, possibly 3. But Dillashaw had other plans. This fight told me a lot. Cody, I guess for what it's worth, he rocked. Well, him and TJ kind of both like stunned each other at the same time, which was kind of wild. I like Cody's use of kicks, just something different to kind of just vary his offense. Maybe just give TJ something extra to think about. But the things that make Cody exciting, I think, are also the things that will be like his downfall. There were just moments in this fight where I just kind of knew like an impending doom is coming. If you watch the sequence when Dillashaw dropped him, Dillashaw threw the same right hand 3 times in a row. 2 or 3 times in a row.
It was 3 times in a row.
Cody never adjusted to this one punch that Dillashaw literally threw 3 times in a row. He never like ducked his head out the way. He never tried to maybe like lean back and counter it. He just it's like when Cody has this just weird thing, like it's not even really weird, but like if he hurts you, he goes in for the kill, but he's careless. And then when he gets hurt, he's still careless somehow. And like it's really bizarre to watch. And I think I literally had deja vu when he got dropped, and like it was like a mirror image of the first fight. Like did you not? It was almost like he did. And I don't mean to like, I'm not trying to like be mean or, you know, I don't want this to come across as like fighter bashing.
No, I mean the facts are the facts.
Yeah, it was literally like the first fight. It was the same thing. Like we know that you can hurt TJ. Like, you clearly got the power, you got really good hand speed, and that's why, like, I like the beginning of the fight. Like, he was patient, he was working his kicks. So I'm like, all right, this is what you do. Like, don't, obviously TJ's not a guy you want to rush in on. So, you know, stay patient, pick your shots, work your kicks, keep your offense a little varied, give him something a little extra to think about. And when, you know, if you can find an opportunity to land a good one, you know, you obviously take it. And if you rock him, you know, there's nothing wrong with going in for the kill, but you just got to be smart about it. And, yeah, he got dropped with the same right hand like 3 times. And it was just like, you can't. TJ is one of those guys that he has so many just tools at his disposal that you can't make mistakes against him. And this wasn't even just a mistake. It was just like a blatant. What do they call them in baseball or tennis? Like unforced. I don't know.
Unforced error.
Unforced error.
Like it's just like I'm watching this and I wasn't rooting for any guy either. I just wanted to see a good fight, so I didn't have any like emotionally invested. But it's just certain things I see and I'm just like, oh, you're killing me. Like the same punch 3 times and you just don't move. But TJ is TJ, man. The dude is a phenomenal fighter. He mauled him, like, and then he hit him with the knee. The knee was pretty vicious, and oh man, TJ's a killer. Like that's the moral of the story. The dude is a bona fide killer. Yeah, I don't know. Garbrandt can't get another title shot for a while after this, man. Like, this was a maul. Like, outside of that one time where they both, like, kind of stunned each other at the same time, he didn't really offer much else. He got mauled. He got beat on. But, yeah, those are my thoughts on how that went down.
Joe, you can go ahead and do yours. I'm rereading everything I wrote.
I see. Thanks for putting me on the spot. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Let's play on PlayStation.
I can hear it, right? I know you can hear it too.
That's my brother.
Oh.
I mean, we don't know that for sure. Either way, my thing with I think you covered everything that needs to be said about the fight. I do think Garbrandt had a little bit more success, but it was fleeting. One guy has a college degree in fighting, and the other guy has a GED in fighting, because the instincts on display between both guys were on such vastly different levels that Dillashaw, he fought smarter, and when it's 2 guys who are evenly matched in terms of speed, strength, athleticism, the smarter guy is normally going to win. So it was just a matter of him being a smarter fighter and being better equipped to survive. Because I do think he got hurt, which opened up the flurry that openly got him back into the fight. Yeah. And it's like, that's the difference between one guy who knows what he's doing and another guy who kind of has an idea. And Garbrandt's survival instinct after getting hurt was like, he didn't circle, there was no movement. It was just like, he was obviously still hurt. And you can't just go right back in. And his idea was, I'm going to go right back in. And he got hit, and we saw what happened. The only thing I can say other than that is, after the fight, there became this like hard up, TJ Dillashaw is the greatest bantamweight of all time. Let's wait. There is no I don't think there's a greatest bantamweight of all time, because this division doesn't have Jose Aldo's longevity of dominance and just, being a guy who people believe that they were getting into the gym just to beat him, as Ann Cole said the last time I was here. There isn't Max Holloway's resume that's sterling, that features finishes over this guy, that guy, this guy, that guy, wins over everybody in the division, and then 2 finishes over Jose Aldo. There isn't a Conor McGregor who had this meteoric rise and from a cultural standpoint made the featherweight division this big thing. There's Dominic Cruz, whose most of his wins I don't think are relevant anymore in terms of, like, historically at the moment they weren't great, and they're not that great now. Like Scott Jorgensen, I don't think we think much about in terms of like title contenders. And then there's Renan Barão, who had a brief fleeting moment as champion that really didn't last as long as you think it lasted. And then there's TJ Dillashaw, who I like TJ Dillashaw, and I think he will be the greatest bantamweight of all time. But of his wins, if you remove rematches, I think like less than half of his opponents are still in the UFC. So Mike Easton, Vaughn Lee, Ishii Tamura, those guys are not, you don't put your highlight reel on those guys. So instead of rushing to start, because now we're in the greatest of all time discussion every week. DC opened it up, and then we had Jose Aldo last week because we had to discuss who the greatest featherweight of all time was. And now we have to figure out who the greatest bantamweight of all time. Let's give this division that's getting really, really, really great some time to bear the fruit. We don't need to have a greatest bantamweight of all time right now because there's nothing to compare it to. It's just so thin in terms of what came before it. So I guess that was just my main complaint, because it felt like an unneeded conversation, that it just a worthless conversation in general compared to featherweight that has such a great history. And that was my main takeaway. Are you ready now, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, before the fight, and we'll get to the other one next. I asked people on Tumblr who they thought had a better chance at winning the rematch, because it was obviously two rematches where the challengers had been knocked out in the previous fight. So it was between Cejudo and Garbrandt, and my argument was for Garbrandt, not for Cejudo, and it basically came down to, like, did I think Garbrandt could learn, like, what went wrong in his first fight with TJ, what was it, like 9 months ago, 10 months ago, that fight was
December, January, February, March.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. Could he learn what went wrong? Can he learn from his mistakes? And that, that itself goes down to a bunch of different categories. Like, okay, who's his head striking trainer? It's his boxing coach, his uncle from, like, Ohio. Where's he training? He's training at, Team Alpha Male. So he's mostly just training with other alpha male dudes, like, I'm assuming Chad Mendez, Uriah Faber. Is Cody Stamen from there, or am I just associating him with them because he's just a bricked up short dude?
I believe he spent some time there.
Okay.
Good. Keep going.
But my point being, like, who in that gym is preparing him for TJ Dillashaw? And, like, because if you go back to their first fight, what happened? Bane Ludwig realized that Garbrandt had no answers for the kicks. And, like, literally no answers. So he would either eat the kick, try to block it, or just completely disengage. And Garbrandt, being a pure counter striker, decided, I'm not going to deal with the kicks at all. I'm going to just wait till he punches. I'm going to wait on him. Eventually, Dillashaw goes to the crouch and then kicks him up top with a head kick. And that opens the door for Garbrandt to actually plant his feet instead of stepping back, because he's trying to get one back on Dillashaw, and he ends up getting him knocked out. What happens here? He ends up rocking Dillashaw, because that's the beginning and the end of the sequence of the fight. He rocks Dillashaw. He doubles down. He tries to go in for the kill, and then, like you guys said, he got hit with the same punch 3 times in a row. The exact same punch. The only difference is that, and this comes back to something else, Garbrandt is really, really, really inexperienced. I know he has like 35 amateur boxing matches and he has an amateur MMA career. But when you think about, like, the pure level of athlete he is, and I legitimately think he's one of the 5 best pure athletes when it comes to MMA right now in the sport, just because, how dynamic and fast and like athletic he is. He really, like, up until the Dillashaw fight, he really hasn't had anybody, like, who can force their way into the pocket, because they end up like Cruz, looking silly, getting punched in the face, or they're like Guido Canetti, who, tough as shit, but just purely not the athlete that Garbrandt is. So to me, it just like I didn't see it. I didn't see the win in the cards for him. I didn't see like 10 months being the amount of time it needed to clear those holes up because he doesn't really have an inside game. Like, was it Rogan or was it DC who was like Dillashaw's not trying to exchange in the pocket with Cody? And I'm not sure if that's the first or the second fight because I watched that first fight like 5 times this past week.
I think it was Cormier.
I think Cormier. It was like he doesn't want to exchange with Garbrandt in the pocket. I'm like, that's exactly where you want to engage with Garbrandt, because I'm guessing he learned this from his first fight. If Dillashaw actually keeps his feet underneath him, he can eat one of Garbrandt's punches, and Garbrandt only throws like 2 combinations, a cross hook or a hook cross as his opponent's coming in. I don't know what happened to the jab he used to shut down like Almeida from distance, but like he realized if I can just step in, I can eat that one punch, and then Garbrandt's feet are going to be all over the place. So, I this is why I didn't like this fight when they made it. Like I knew it'd be fun. I knew it'd lead to like a great finish, but like. Garbrandt seems to have fans for whatever reason. Like the people seem to be drawn to him. Why are you going to burn him out in less than 2 years into his rise? Like I really didn't this fight for him.
I suppose theoretically, because I remember us having this conversation. This was like the only fight I think that could headline a pay-per-view. Which might have played a heavy impact into it. But like at that time, they were not going to reward Marlon Moraes because he kind of jerked them around with the Jimmy Rivera fight. And Dominic Cruz, like I guess he was hurt, and Assunção, we've kind of been there and done that. So it made sense to this was the easiest fight to put together and the easiest fight to sell. Your technical analysis was spot on. And I can't remember who said it on Twitter, but basically, their argument was every time Garbrandt squared up to Dillashaw, he lost.
Mm-hmm.
Like every combination, and it just Cody Garbrandt cannot fight how he fights. You can get away with that with Dominic Cruz, and you can get away with that with Thomas Almeida, who's more of a accumulation, just an overwhelming figure.
Also, someone who doesn't move his head.
Yeah, and starts really slow. You can do that. But he's at the point in this division where there's no one else he can do that with. You're not going to do that with Marlon Moraes. You're not going to do that with John Lineker. We've already seen it with Dillashaw twice.
Oh my God, John Lineker might murder him.
Yeah, like Jimmy Rivera as well. Like you can't fight that kind of fight. You can't fight that kind of fight against the top guys in this division anymore.
Right. Like Cruz's biggest fault was that. Like I know everybody likes to use the gif of him coming forward and like what was it, the 1-2 leg kick that he landed on Jorgensen that just sent Jorgensen like spinning around in circles.
Yeah, Cruz is not a power puncher.
Well, that and he just doesn't fight well coming forward.
Oh, okay. Now, yeah, I got what you're saying. Now I got
Like TJ Dillashaw lives in that pocket. That is how he became a champion.
I wonder if, because Dana White said something afterwards that I kind of agree with, which was that Garbrandt seems to fight angry with Dillashaw. So I wonder if in those gym exchanges that they had, if Dillashaw won just about every single one.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of tell who the guy is who's trying to get something back, and who the guy is that kind of already knows what to do. So.
Yeah.
And Garbrandt's kicks, by the way, kicks are great. You have to do something with them. You can't just throw a kick and then admire and then reset and then throw another kick. You have to you got to put those in combination. Every Garbrandt kick was like kick, reset. Good.
No, like you're saying, like kick a bunch of kick resets. Like I understand. You go back to like the Gustafsson fight. The reason he fought Jones and DC so damn close to the point where you can argue he won both those fights is that he did not concede anything with either guy. Like, he didn't concede in the wrestling department. He took both of them down, and when it came to Jones, he kicked with him. He refused to let Jones have a whole section of the fight or range of the fight where he could not win. And so I understand why Garbrandt added the kicks, but if he was going to add anything to keep to score at range, it should have been a jab.
True.
Because one, we know he has a good one. We've seen it before. But like, his whole game is predicated on guys chasing him. If you're like, there's nothing better to throw in your arsenal than a backstepping jab, if that's your goal.
Right.
Well, I guess to move forward, I guess with the aftermath of this fight. So I'm looking through records now. So I think obviously in my opinion, Dillashaw's next title defense comes down to only two people. It's either Marlon Moraes or Sun Tzu. To me, these are the only two fights that make sense.
Agreed.
So I'm looking at a Sun Tzu's record. So obviously, Sun Tzu lost to Dillashaw at 200, UFC 200. But since then, he's had wins over Sterling, Moraes, Matthew Lopez, and Rob Font. Marlon Moraes, pull this up, has had wins over Rivera, Aljamain, and Dotson. And I guess also the one, he lost to a Sun Tzu, but I guess the one strike you could put against the Sun Tzu is that he's already lost to Dillashaw, even though they are 1-1. So he's got one over him and then lost one recently.
If you're my thought process is, if you're going to put it on TV, do a Sun Tzu, get it out the way. Plus, you'll probably get the overrun.
Right.
If you're going to do it on pay-per-view, go with the exciting dude who knocked out 2 of the top 10 fighters in the division inside of a round.
Yeah.
Right.
It's hard because I like a Sun Tzu and he just gets overlooked just all the time. But I've said since like Moraes came over, I've been a Moraes fan for a long time, and I believe that he will be champ. It's hard. I don't want to leave a Sun Tzu out. He gets overlooked enough.
Yeah. If you're asking for fairness, it should be a Sun Tzu. If you're asking for who I'd rather pay to see, it's Moraes, and it's not even close.
And this is hard. This is hard. But I guess if they make either of those fights, if it's Moraes, I'm definitely not complaining. But yeah, Sun Tzu's done more than enough to earn his title shot. I mean, you could argue he probably should have gotten it a couple fights, a while ago.
Why no Cruz, Sensei?
Because I like Cruz, but he's so, I don't know, like, it's like he fights, and I see him, and then he just disappears for a really long time, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know, But I do want to see them fight again, though, because I was really hyped for the first time he fought TJ, and that was a really fun fight to watch. But I don't know, just like with Cruz's health, sometimes I'm just like, if you win, how long are you really going to be around? Like, are you going to win and then you get injured again, and then we got to do this whole, But I think either way, like, Cruz will always be in the wing, like, for instance, if they make a title fight and one of them gets injured, you can plug Cruz in. But I don't know. I'm just not at a rush to, I don't know, throw him in a title fight yet. It might be my bias. I really want to see Moraes get that shot. I guess I'll just go on record and say I think if Moraes fights TJ, I have Moraes winning. I'll put myself out there.
Ooh.
I think Moraes takes him. But yeah, I mean, either way though, between Moraes and the Sun Tzu, or even if you do want to do Cruz, I mean, all three of those are good matchups. They'll be entertaining fights, regardless. But we'll see. We'll see. I think it's a win either way. He has a lot of interesting fights that he can get in. He's even got Cejudo calling him out. I don't know if I want to see that fight. Not now, but
I'll
guess
say this. I'm happy Cejudo did it. I'll explain after we talk about the fight, but like I'm happy he did that for one specific reason.
Well, all right, I'll say that to the next.
Yeah, I kind of got
But,
something to
well,
say about that as well.
Yeah, we'll just we'll roll on to it then. Co-main event: Henry Cejudo and Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. This was Mighty Mouse's 12th, was 11th or 12th? 12th defense. Most dominant champ in UFC history. You know what? I'll throw it out there. I think I've been well noted on this podcast that I'm not the biggest Mighty Mouse fan. It's just a personal grudge because he beat two of my favorite fighters ever. So I've just been kind of bitter for a long time. But like I couldn't. He's one of those guys that like I don't root for him, but you have to respect the game. Like he just does things that are just. He's one of those dudes that he's almost like the perfect fighter. Like he's one of very few fighters I can say that when I watch him fight, like he doesn't really make a lot of mistakes. Like I've never watched a DJ fight and been like, oh, he shouldn't have did that. That wasn't a good, that wasn't a good move. Like he doesn't do that. He's almost perfect. Like he's as close to perfect as you can probably get. I've watched this fight twice now. It was definitely razor close. In real time, I did have it 2-2 going into the fifth, and I gave Cejudo the last round. I don't know. If you want to argue that DJ won, I'm not going to be angry at you or anything. It was a really close fight. I think, once again, in these fights, these kind of fights happen all the time. It's what do you... If you're a judge, like, what are you looking at to determine who won? Are you factoring more in damage? Because I want to say, I don't have the stats in front of me, so don't quote me on this, but I think DJ landed more.
I can look that up for you.
I think he did. I want to say he landed more. I don't know by what margin, but I think he outlanded Cejudo. But in my opinion, with Cejudo's takedowns, he kind of, I guess you could say, controlled the fight more. So it's kind of just, what are you weighing more on the scale in terms of that? But in terms of the fight, the fight was phenomenal. This was it was kind of wild because, like, even though nobody got, like, there wasn't a moment where, like, anybody got floored or, like, rocked really hard, but this was still just an amazing fight to watch. If you've been watching Cejudo since, like, just when he first started getting into MMA, his striking has gotten just leaps and bounds better than what it used to be. We've seen his evolution, especially, I would say, over, like, his last 2 to 3 fights, where it's really seemed like he's made a leap just in terms of overall improvement. Yeah, man, I think he did the one thing that you can just only hope to do to DJ, and it's like, you're probably not gonna knock him out. You kind of just have to, like, subdue him, kind of, sort of. That's kind of what I looked at those takedowns. Is like, maybe, I can't catch you all the time, but if I can just get a hold of you for a little bit and just win these small battles here and there, it can be enough for me to just kind of edge out a round. And a fight that's this close, where both guys are landing decent, but nobody's, like, there weren't any, like, game-ending, strikes in this fight. So after with that, it just kind of comes down to these little minute details, I guess, to kind of figure out who do you think wins. And I guess when one guy's landing takedowns, I guess for the judges at least, that was enough to sway them for the victory. But this was a really amazing fight. Cejudo, I think just the difference between this fight and the first one, like, he's just gotten so much better. And I'm so glad he survived the Brent Primus effect with the kick. That he caught a kick, like, behind the knee in that first round, and then his foot started to buckle, and I thought it was gonna. I didn't want it to be a repeat of Michael Chandler. And side note, why I know why they do it, but I really hate it. Why do they just... Why is Bellator the other organization? I really... I hate that so... And I don't remember who said it, But then somebody eventually just said Michael Chandler. Why do you guys do that? We know what fight you're talking about. Like, don't call them the other organization. Like, we know. I get it. Competition, blah, blah, but whatever. But really amazing fight from both fighters. Very high level. That grapple sequence where like Cejudo took DJ down and DJ just did this roll and they had this crazy scramble and DJ ended up getting out of it was crazy to watch. Like these are just two really highly skilled fighters. Just really, really close fight. Could have gone either way. Lucky for Cejudo, he got the W. I saw some people on Twitter, they weren't so happy with the decision, but as I've said, I've been waiting for Mighty Mouse to lose for a long time, so I'm not ashamed of my biases, but I'll always give DJ credit where it's due. And just for the record, I think DJ should get an immediate rematch. Like when you've been champ for that long, and I mean you lost a split decision. It's not like Cejudo like flatlined him or anything crazy. You know, he should definitely deserve that rematch. And I'm pretty sure that would be a great trilogy, and that fight will be just as entertaining as this one was. But yeah, amazing fight from both fighters. But I'm really happy Cejudo got that W.
All right, since I got those striking stats for you.
All right.
So according to this fight metric, Demetrius Johnson 121 total strikes to Henry Cejudo's 80. And he also landed 81 significant strikes to Henry Cejudo's 51. So there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like this was like I thought heading into this fight, I thought this would be like Cejudo's like Chad Mendes coming to Jesus moment, where like he puts on like a really good fight and loses. He sort of did, kind of, like, well, like in my eyes, this fight could have been anywhere from like 4-1 Johnson to like 3-2 Cejudo. It falls everywhere on that like scale for me. So I'm not too upset that Johnson lost, despite the fact he's my favorite fighter. Because to be honest with you, this is probably the best thing to happen to him. Like, he has a narrative for his next fight now. Or for his climb back to the title, or for whatever they're going to do, because I don't know who you put Cejudo in there with next. Like, they currently have, what is it, Pettis versus Formiga. And Cejudo beat both of those guys, and neither one was a good fight. And I guess they announced Ray Borg versus Joseph Benavidez. I guess they could put Benavidez in there with him again, but Sergio Pettis beat Benavidez, so
you could maybe. Well, I mean, I think the trump card, I suppose, would be Davison Figueiredo.
All right,
but Figueiredo versus Cejudo is not a headliner.
I'm pretty sure nobody like you could. Is Figueiredo even fought on TV yet?
Figueiredo?
Yeah.
He was. Shit, that's a damn good question. I want to say no.
But
I want to say no. I'm gonna look it up. Go ahead.
All right. So it fought a really good fight. Like a really smart fight. Where we saw elements of his last 3 fights since the DJ fight. The first one, we saw a little bit of the aggression that he showed against Joseph Benavidez and had shown previously when he actually, stood and engaged with his opponents. He showed a little bit of that patience, I guess, and that ability to flurry that we saw against Wilson Hayes. And we saw the stifling top game that we saw him, wrestle Sergio Pettis with. So it's cool to see him put all those together in real time against, the best fighter on the planet. I know a lot of people I just wrote off the stats. I know Cejudo got soundly outstruck when it came to volume, but he was landing pretty well. Like he was not. This was not a one-sided ass whooping on the feet. Like he was in there, he was
Yeah.
going down. I actually thought he rocked DJ at a certain point, but I guess we found out after the fight, DJ broke his foot. I don't know if either one of you guys saw like
Yeah.
the picture he posted.
Oh no, I didn't hear the pitch. I didn't see the pitch. I just heard about it.
Yeah, no, it is swollen, and he thinks he tore his what you call it again, not the ACL, the other one.
LCL.
MCL.
Yeah. So, like, I'm finding it very hard to be critical of Cejudo because he beat DJ, which, I really don't have a lot to say. Like, DJ fought a really good fight.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's one of those fights where I feel like the only thing you could critique is just the judging, depending on like how you score fights. But in terms of what we saw, like they both put on as good a performance as you would want your fighter to put on. Like
exactly. Like, I mean, I'm still out here caping for Hatsuhioki against Clay Guida. So like, know my pain, but I think that's the most like not vitriol, but I was definitely on the end of more hate mail than I've ever gotten before for that one, which is really weird. But
people saying hate mail over Hatsuhio.
Dude, the day I was super pissed about that decision. Maybe I went off a little too much on it.
I don't even remember that fight. So that's not.
I vaguely remember, and I'm pretty sure I felt the same.
I'm just like, they fought when?
Yeah, no. Clay Guida took him down and basically fought off submissions for like 3 rounds, and like his face was black and blue by the time it was over.
I was gonna say that's kind of how I feel about Mighty Mouse and Miguel Torres. Midas's face wasn't black and blue. Just throwing that out there. That's exactly how I felt about that fight. But that's not near there. Just so y'all know where some of my hatred stems from.
But no, like, I'm curious how this fight plays out if DJ doesn't break his foot. But that actually has me concerned because like ever since the I guess like right before the Tim Elliott fight, like DJ's been getting hurt a lot lately. Like there's a dude who in 2014, 2015 had fought 3 times that year. And now it seems like he's needing longer and longer breaks in between fights. It took a while for his shoulder to heal up after his last fight against Ray Borg. Like we know that these lighter weights age a little faster, and DJ's only 31, 32, so 31 years old. He'll be 32 like in a week. But he also has like 30 fights on his to his credit. Been fighting pro for over a decade now. Like obviously I don't think he's about to fall off a cliff and just start getting knocked out by like Sergio Pettis and Dustin Ortiz or whatever, but
he still starches the rest of this.
Yeah, it does have me concerned for a rematch with Cejudo, who's probably only going to get better from here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'll throw this out there. I thought this was an interesting observation. I don't remember who I saw this from or heard this from, but somebody said they at least the way they read it, like after the decision was read, like DJ almost looked like relieved.
Yeah.
Or like, I almost say, because I think they phrased it as like he was relieved that he lost. I won't go that far. Like I don't think he ever goes in a fight wanting to lose, but or maybe it was a thing where like he's not so mad at the loss because I mean you gotta imagine you've been champ for God knows how long. That's a lot of pressure. And now it's like, obviously a loss is a terrible thing, but maybe the silver lining is like, I lost. I can kind of like breathe now. Like I'm not chasing this. I mean, you already had like a crazy streak going, so it's just like, maybe it took something off of him. I don't know. maybe it can make him better. Maybe after this, he's not so, I mean, I don't know. I've never heard him talk about it, but I'd imagine being the champ for that long, like I said, that's a lot of stress to carry around when you're that good, and people pretty much just expect you to win every fight in pretty like dominant fashion. So
maybe he doesn't have to respond to any more. Why isn't Demetrius Johnson popular?
Right.
Articles.
Right.
So
like maybe this is like a good thing. Like he loses, he takes that loss. He kind of just you can just go back to the drawing board. Now all of that pressure of you continuing this crazy streak and all of that just kind of fades to black, and you can just kind of just relax and do your thing now. I don't know, but it does make me interested though to see like. I feel like the only way to go was a straight rematch. I don't see what else. There are no other fights to me that make sense. Like I get Cejudo calling out TJ. I was gonna say, is getting 2 belts the new thing now? Like
I mean, that's a lot of money, man.
Is that gonna be the new like mark? Because I feel like that that as of late has kind of been the thing. I mean, you had Dave Branch in World Series of Fighting, who was middleweight and light heavyweight. Obviously, we had Conor. His situation was a little different, but
I refuse to believe we're about to mention Dave Branch in the same breath as Conor McGregor.
Oh, we're definitely
Conor McGregor and Henry Cejudo.
Dave Branch was was the catalyst.
We get it, but no disrespect to Dave Branch by mentioning him with Conor and Cejudo, because Dave Branch is he's on another level.
I understand. He did beat Thiago Santos. I must give props, credit where it's due.
Exactly.
But it just seems like everybody's chasing. I think maybe it's like a byproduct of the super fight era.
I think super fight has replaced the money fight in terms of people, like, that's kind of what they think is in. Yeah. The press conference afterwards is very interesting, because Dana White, after these press conferences, I think is when you get him at his rawest, because it's like immediate reaction. He has to have an immediate answer for everything that just happened over the course of 5 hours beforehand as it pertains to the organization going forward. And I get the feeling that they never considered for a single second Cejudo could win this fight. But here's why. Afterwards, like, I think that they went into this event thinking whoever wins between Garbrandt and Dillashaw, they're going to fight Mighty Mouse. Like, that was the setup. And their argument was, Mighty Mouse, if he fights a guy like Garbrandt or Dillashaw, it's the most marketable fight you can possibly have. And I don't think they ever considered that Cejudo could be like a monkey wrench in the plan, because realistically, you would have never imagined that if you're a fight promoter and you have a guy so dominant, you always do the token anything can happen, but you have a comfort level in believing that Mighty Mouse will never lose. I don't think they ever considered that Cejudo could pull that off, because afterwards it was like, well, could Cejudo fight Mighty Mouse again? And with Mighty Mouse's history in the division, it'd be like, yeah, I mean, I think an immediate rematch makes sense. But he was kind of like, it's a possibility. So then the next follow-up would be, well, Cejudo's going to fight Dillashaw, because they both kind of called each other out and were cool with the idea. And his response to that was, it's a possibility. So I don't think they have a surefire route that they want to go, because I think they believe that Dillashaw Garbrandt winner fights Mighty Mouse, and that's that. Solved. Now they have to figure out, we've had this guy who's been our champion for this long. We've been kind of saddled. I bet there are people in those offices who believe that they've been saddled with Mighty Mouse. That, like, this guy can't draw. He can't this, can't that. Like, we're stuck with this guy. Got to find somebody to beat him. Well, a champion coming down from another weight class, that's got to be like an easy fight to sell, because people want to see this guy lose. Well, now he lost, but he lost in a split decision to a guy that you kind of didn't really have any plans for in terms of major star power. And it's a split decision too. So now you're kind of obligated and compelled to do a rematch that you might not want to do, because then you might wind up in the same situation all over again. So they were it was very interesting how pensive they were about Mighty Mouse discussions and about Cejudo discussions as well. Did not feel like the same case with Dillashaw, who he was like, yeah, you could fight. There's like Cruz and there's a Sun Tzu and this guy and that guy.
Yeah, he's got
Right.
options.
So I think their attitude is we're kind of stuck now.
Well, see, they should. I think. Well, you could be right, and probably are, because yeah, I mean, in some way, I can't blame him because we're just used to him just winning and winning and winning. But I feel safe saying consensus that pretty much everybody thought. I mean, after DJ beat Dotson twice and Benavidez twice, if there was one guy who was gonna challenge Mighty Mouse, it was gonna be Cejudo. He was I think he was the only guy that people looked at and thought like he might have a shot. But I was thinking too, like, I don't get how you can't market him like he's got Olympic credentials, now he's a UFC champ. Like, I feel like there's something there. There's got to be something.
I mean, I concur. On paper, I concur. But Cejudo's kind of
dull.
I didn't even want to say that. I was just gonna say like almost unreliable. Because remember, this is a guy who like LFC at the time laughed when he left. And his first fight in the UFC, he couldn't make weight. They pulled him off the card. So I wonder if they're just like, do we trust him? Can you trust the? Because look, none of us here in this little conversation has ever promoted an event. But goddamn, we could promote a like we can promote an Olympic champion who speaks 2 languages.
Yeah.
You don't have to be Vince McMahon to pull that off.
Right.
So if they can't do it, or if there's tension about doing it, there's got to be something there. Because at one point during the presser, they were like, "Oh, he speaks 2 languages. He could be a national star, international star." And Dana was like, I guess, yeah, kind of. They were like, with the weight, he could be like a Mexican superstar, like De La Hoya. And Dana's like, I mean, if he fights like that, yeah, sure. Like, there was no concrete idea.
That's such a Dana answer.
And I don't think he was trying to discredit Cejudo as much as he was just like, either he was flummoxed that he won, or like, I mean, they deal with Henry Cejudo on a yearly basis. They might have an opinion that's different.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, just about his unreliability. That's why I was so happy he called out TJ. I hope he doesn't get the fight. But like the book on Cejudo is he gets his goal and then he just kind of stops.
Yeah, like because that was that
was his wrestling career. Like he won the Olympic gold medal, didn't wrestle for like 3.5 years. Basically, just went on like a giant like speaking tour to be like a what you call it?
Motivational.
Yeah, motivational speaker for like biz. Like,
so he needs these quote unquote super fights to keep him going.
Yeah, oh yeah. Like I think he needs a new goal. Like. It was pretty clear up until the last DJ fight, the first one. I mean, he was half-assing it.
Oh yeah, he was coasting.
And like he fucking beat like a whole bunch of really good fighters in the process, but he was clearly like half-assing everything.
His best performance, and this I think proves what you're saying. His best performance as a UFC fighter prior to the first Mighty Mouse fight was his debut after he had gotten pulled for not being able to make weight. So I think he almost needs to be like motivated beyond normal means to really get the best out of him. Yeah,
and that's why I was really happy that he called out like TJ. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to hang on to this title and for as long as I can, and then do something else. It was like, okay, he has another goal in mind, and he's going to work towards that. And I think he came out and was like, I want to be a Triple Crown champion and like win a belt in 3 divisions. Good luck with that. But I'm happy he has the goal in mind. Like I'm legitimately happy. Like, okay, he's going to keep working. Like he's not going to win the belt and then decide like tomorrow he doesn't want to do this anymore.
Right.
Because
he admitted that he quit. Like, he quit MMA after he missed weight. Like, after he missed weight in his debut, he said he quit, and then they had to talk him back into trying again. And now he's, he just beat the best fighter of my generation, at least. So,
and he's still hella young. Like, not in age-wise, he's the same age as DJ, but, like, he's only been fighting for, like, 5 years.
Yeah.
It's a quick rise.
Unrelated, by the way. Henry Cejudo has the weirdest shaped head in MMA. And I think that's why he takes those shots so well. From like, because DJ hit him flush a few times. His head is really oddly shaped, like for a flyweight.
Dude,
like
he has like a middleweight head.
Yeah, he does. He looks like a bobblehead.
Like Odd Job from.
Just a very, very unique shaped head for him.
Oh man.
But yeah, like I don't know, and I never thought I would see the day where Mighty Mouse would lose again. Not until he was so faded. And think about it: Anderson Silva, Stipe Miocic, BJ Penn. Pick your greatest of all time, whatever. They all had like traumatic falls. Mighty Mouse's fall was a split decision. He might have won. So I think that speaks to his greatness.
Yeah, I think if anybody's gonna be Mighty Mouse, like this was the only way it could happen. Like you just gotta find some way to stay in the fight long enough to make it competitive, and hope you did enough to win.
Mighty Mouse.
Because I think outside of Dotson, you know, who just had like raw knockout power, like most other people just don't have that.
Right.
So
And Mighty Mouse kills people in the clinch, because I did a whole retrospective on his career going into the Borg fight, and every time he was in the clinch, he won. He won every single one, and I'm like, Cejudo needs to not clinch with him, and I'll be damned if he didn't win at least enough in the clinch to get takedowns to set up whatever else he was working on. So good for Cejudo. He basically beat Mighty Mouse, quote unquote, in his wheelhouse, and I had it for Cejudo. So
we'll see, but props to Cejudo, man. But like I said, amazing fight from both fighters. I'm hoping they do the instant rematch, because I'm pretty sure it'll be just as good as this one was. But on to the next fight, Renato Moicano, Cub Swanson. Man. Moicano this dude's legit, man. This dude is, and it's crazy because like when I watch him fight, it's not like he's not like the flashiest dude. It's not like anything, you know, really like sticks out a bunch. But he's just really effective at what he does do. And it just, more often than not, seems to just work every single time. He cracked Cub with that jab a few times, but I didn't think he would end the fight with a jab that would just like, it reminded me of Cerrone and
Barboza.
Cerrone and Barboza, where he just flicks it out there, and I don't know what separated that jab from all the other ones, but
Dude, that thing was a piston.
like he just like he floored him with his jab. Like you could not draw up a better jab, man. Like he floored him with that jab, and then he sunk in the choke, and for like a brief second I thought it wasn't under the chin, so I was like, oh, maybe Cub will get out, but nah, he shut that down. Yeah, man. Moicano's a beast. This man is you know, he's not like the most popular fighter. He's not, you know, in front of the screen all the time, all that good stuff. But you throw him in there with anybody, and it is not going to be an easy night. Like you need to be on your P's and Q's. And that jab had to have been something, because we've seen Cub take some shots. Like the dude who Choi fight, where he got rocked pretty hard a bunch of times and still managed to carry on. And here Moicano just hits him with a bullet of a jab, and it just floors him. Like Moicano's a monster. That's all I can say. And I felt bad for Cub, man. I didn't realize Cub's lost. Is this 3 straight now?
Yep.
2 by stoppage.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's rough times. rough times, but Moicano's an animal, man. This dude he's for real.
Dude's like one of the cleanest strikers at 145. He gets overlooked because, like you say, he's not like Max Holloway or like a Jose Aldo or even like a Brian Ortega. But like, speaking of the the Brian Ortega fight was basically Ortega walking onto Moicano strikes before Moicano just got really tired and shot for a double, like panicking. Like he's really good. I don't know what else to say. Like,
what's his rank?
As of today,
Not that rankings probably matter anymore, but just to FYI. Is he in the top 5?
he should be after that, but I'm not sure.
He should be.
He is.
Dude is.
Oh, they haven't updated the rankings yet. He was at number 10. I'm assuming he's gonna be at number 6, and they're gonna have him behind Chad Mendes.
That would be a fun fight.
Yeah. As I kind of said going into this, one guy was fighting fights that mattered, and another guy was winning the fights that you were seeing. Renato Moicano's always been kind of under the radar, but Jeremy Stevens, Calvin Kattar, even Zubair Tukhugov, who we haven't seen in a while, is really good. And of course, he fought Brian Ortega. Whereas Cub Swanson's winning streak that kind of got him back into prominence, relevance, was guys like Artem Lobov, Hakron Diaz, and Doo Ho Choi. So I don't know why Moicano, I know Moicano was a big betting favorite, but to the casual people that I was talking to, it was like, well, Cub Swanson's just fighting some Brazilian guy. Moicano's really, really, really been good, and he's been really, really, really consistently good. Whereas Cub Swanson, the whole reason you would have bet on Cub Swanson is, well, normally when he's in this position, he wins. He normally has the big comeback fight. But Moicano wasn't going to give him the openings that Doo Ho Choi was going to give him, be it virtue, inexperience, or just a lack of ability. Moicano was just on another level, and I truly believed going into this card that he was a top 5 featherweight, and I think that this should have solidified him as a top 5 featherweight. He's a top 5 featherweight. You can put Ortega, Aldo, Holloway, and Edgar in any order you want, but Moicano needs to be number 5. Because Chad Mendes, Mursad Bektik, Volkanovski, they all have good wins, but not Moicano level performances.
Yeah, and I guess, and as much as I love Chad Mendes, the knock on him would be like he's been gone for so long. Like we still gotta, he still gotta come back. The division's kind of been different since he's been there. More people have emerged.
Absolutely.
So yeah, but those two fighting would be awesome. I knew Cub was in trouble where he uncorked a right hand on Moicano that I thought would have floored him, and he just kind of ate it. And I was like, oh.
The only guys to give Moicano trouble go to the body. And Cub Swanson can go to the body, but not consistently, and he doesn't go to the body when he starts to get troubled. So I knew that if Moicano took him out of his game early, it was gonna be a pretty smooth performance for him. And Moicano Mendes sounds amazing. Give me that fight.
Yeah, I'm there for that. That's a fun. And I think out of that fight, you get a legit, whoever won that could possibly just fight for a title next. I mean, Stevens is he's kind of out of the picture. I don't have the rankings in front of me. You know what I just noticed? I was going to mention this. I don't even know when I was going to throw this in there. I used to always pull the rankings up before every podcast, but I just realized that they're futile. They don't matter anymore, so I don't look at them anymore.
Even Dana said, I can't remember what show it was afterwards, but he's like, I don't know, sometimes the rankings do weird shit between, the Saturday of the event and the Monday morning.
But maybe don't clear every Tom and fucking Jane who applies to be on the damn ranking board.
Right. He's not paying any attention to who's applying. That's not his job.
Yeah, he did.
Kudos to Moicano, by the way, for calling out Aldo. I thought that was really important.
Oh, I didn't even know he did that.
Well, he didn't call him out, but he expressed an interest, quote unquote, in fighting him.
That's a smart move.
I mean,
Smart move. But I will
that's
say
what I'm
though,
about
that's one guy you don't want to take a body shot from.
not only that, but I don't know if I want to live in Brazil and call out Jose Aldo.
Yeah. Hey man, that man is a brave soul. I'm not mad though. I'm not mad at it. But yeah man, Moicano's a beast. If he's not on your radar, he should have been. But if he's not, he should be now. Dude is definitely legit top 5 material. Moving on to this next fight, J.J. Aldridge, Poliana Viana. I don't remember this fight. I remember.
Fair enough.
I remember Viana fighting with her left hand down. I remember her trying to get a lot of this fight was like in the clinch. Viana was like trying to get it to the ground, but I don't remember if it went to the ground all that much. Yeah, remember Aldridge marching forward. She landed some hands. I don't know. I feel like there wasn't a ton of eventfulness in this fight.
Nah, not really.
I full disclosure here. I've been sick, so I was feeling really hot. So I took a shower during this fight and kind of just forgot it existed until right now.
Like the first round was basically Aldridge and Viana like pushing each other up against the cage, with Aldridge like getting, I guess, the upper hand, and DC and Joe Rogan losing their mind over the fact that Aldridge would go to the clinch with like a jiu-jitsu champion. And then the second and third round was Aldridge just kind of walking Viana down and occasionally landing like a clean straight left hand to her right up the middle. And Viana, since she was just standing straight up in the air with her hand down, getting tagged, and then being surprised by it.
Yeah.
I think Aldridge,
much.
Aldridge took her down like once. I think that's what you're talking about. Like it went to the ground, but she got up almost immediately. Oh no, it was Viana jumped guard. Jumped guard, and then Aldridge, like after a minute of sitting her guard, Aldridge just decided to stand up, and the fight continued as such.
Worth.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. Yeah, it's not a ton to really dissect over that fight. Though I was. Oh, that's probably gonna sound rude. If I say this.
Go ahead, say it. Go ahead, set it down.
Yeah, when I looked at the card, I was like, this is on the main card?
Well, I mean, it's not rude because I said the same thing, so we're both in trouble then.
I was like, I can look at a couple of other fights that probably could have, I mean, I ain't mad at them, get your shine, be on the main card of a pay-per-view, all your friends, all that good stuff. But yeah, I was just puzzled that this was on a main card.
What's up?
My guess is they thought Viana could be somebody,
Right.
Viana or Aldridge, because Aldridge managed to get a good fight out of Daniel Taylor. So it was probably Viana who they had
I would assume. So that now makes 8 straight strawweight fights that have not gone to a finish yet in a row. The last finish for a strawweight fight was in May, and since the end of June, there have been just 2 women's MMA fights that have gone to a finish. So these divisions need finishes in the worst way. And there have been 20. Here's fun. Here's a question. Do you think there have been more women's MMA fights since the start of May or lightweight fights?
I'm gonna go lightweight.
What about you, Anna?
I'm gonna go lightweight as well, but probably not by much.
They are tied, 24 apiece.
Wow.
20. No, not lightweight, welterweight. There have been 19 lightweight fights. So there are more women's MMA fights than lightweight fights. And just whenever they put these, I feel bad because whenever they put these women, like women's MMA fights on the main card, they automatically get disparaged because there's a lack of a finish. Like people kind of go into it with a lack of belief that there's gonna be a finish. But thus far, people are right, I suppose. And so,
I feel like for me, it's not the lack of finish. It's just like, of all the straw weights you could have picked to put on the main card, these aren't the first two names that.
No, because I don't disagree. Look, the UFC 228 main card, and I've already seen complaints about it. But it's like all of those fights are quality fights. Like Nico Montano and Valentina Shevchenko is a quality fight. Tatiana Suarez and Carla Esparza is a quality fight. Carolina and Andrade are all quality fights.
Yeah, and see, in those fights, like they hold like weight to them.
Like they're
like, the winners of those, like there's a storyline somewhere in those fights. With this, it's just kind of like, if you'd have threw this on a prelim, I wouldn't have blinked at it. It was like, oh, all right.
No,
that's
it was.
But,
I'm totally with you. I'm just saying that
yeah,
women's MMA, as long as they're going to be on these main cards, they're always going to have like a different expectation level on them because there's still there's still a portion of this audience that doesn't want them. And so when it goes through these like finishless streaks, it really does stand out. Because specifically at strawweight, which is the best weight class. So you obviously can't force finishes, but this division could really use somebody or like a streak where they kind of get some subs and some KOs real quick.
I really thought we were going to get a finish in the Wei Li Zhang and Danielle Taylor fight earlier in the fight, but
oh boy, that fight, Danielle Taylor puzzled.
We'll get to it, as you would say.
We'll get to it.
as you're apt to say.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But shout outs to JJ Aldridge. She won via unanimous decision. And to round out the main card, one of the funnest fights that we saw that night, Thiago Santos versus Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland was an extra late replacement. Who was the original? I forgot.
Thiago Santos was going to fight Gustafsson. He agreed to step up.
Oh yeah. So yeah, this was like super last minute. Yeah, this this fight was entertaining for a lot of reasons. I mean, for one, any Santos fight, you just know, win or lose, it's gonna go no other way but violent. He lands some real. His ground and pound is really like terrifying.
Everything he does is terrifying.
like he. I don't understand how he even generates that much force. Like, his ground and pound is. I was afraid for like Holland's life, and it was wild because for people who don't know, I mean, Kevin Holland was on Dana White's Contender Series. He's very animated, to say the least. He has full-blown conversations while in the middle of fights. It's kind of bizarre to watch, but it's entertaining. But a lot of props to Holland though, man. Like, your debut is against like a top 10 middleweight, or was he top 10 or top 15? I can't remember if he's
13th.
Yeah, but either way, like your debut is against a killer. He looked really composed out there. I mean, obviously he lost. I think there's some holes in his game that he needs to work on, but he never really like withered away. He was trying a lot of creative stuff. He tried like the flying. I don't know what that was.
Flying omoplata.
Yeah,
I think it was a triangle, but he was just really tired.
Yeah, he did something wild. He was trying, man. He did, I think, at one point late in the round, like he rocked or stunned Santos for like a second, but I think he ended up like getting taken down or something. But Santos landed some bombs on him, man. He landed some really violent hits. Props to Holland just for like not getting put away. Like he kept himself in the fight. He talked a lot of trash while he was on the ground. Yeah, it was just really entertaining. And I guess props to Santos also for taking this fight. Like, if you go from fighting Gustafsson, which if you win that fight definitely does a lot for you, to basically fighting a no-name. Like that's a dangerous fight. Like if if this would have went another way, if in some alternate world, Holland and he had that armbar in the beginning that he almost had sunk in for like a second, but Santos got out of it. Like, if this fight goes the other way, you know, that's not good for you. Like, you definitely lose that top 13 ranking, and this guy comes in and just leapfrogs you. But yeah, just really entertaining fight. But like I said, man, Santos' ground and pound is really terrifying to watch. But it's also fun just watching Kevin Holland on the ground just have these random side conversations while he's dodging like incoming just bombs from Santos. But yeah, this was one of the more fun fights on the card. Definitely one you guys should go back and watch. It was pretty entertaining.
I don't even know how to describe the fight. Santos is like the most athletic bar brawler I've ever seen. Dude. Oh my god. Like, I can't get over Holland's like flying omoplata attempts. Because it wasn't really flying. It was like Diego Santos was like trying to take him down, and he just like, okay, I'm going to the ground. I'm going to throw my leg over his back and see what happens. Like, I can't. Besides like Yoel Romero, I can't think of like a scarier fighter to fight at middleweight than Diego Santos, because everything he throws looks like it hurts. Shouts to Holland for being like the first dude who didn't knock Santos out to actually, you know, go to decision with him since like Elias Theodorou.
Yeah.
So it's been like a solid 2 years, which doesn't sound like a lot until you realize that Santos has fought like 10 times in that span. Is he going up to 205?
He talked about it. It seems like it is, because I think he's having trouble with the weight cut. Like, it's becoming too much.
I mean, he already beat the number 6 fighter in the division.
Right.
Like, not even 6 months ago. So I guess he's a top 5 fighter now.
I'm with it.
By MMA math.
I'm with it.
I'm here for Santos versus Manoa or Latifi.
I said it. Like, I don't know what planet you live on, but if you don't want to see Thiago Santos, Ian Cutelaba,
hey.
And it shouldn't even be in a cage. It should be in like a ring of fire. Just have them throw down.
He'll be like in a kickboxer. They'll put the wraps around his glove, give him the glass. Just make it extra violent for no reason.
You know, I wanted bare knuckle. I want bare knuckle, but not like in like bare knuckle FC. Like, I wanted like a real bare knuckle arena, which is basically like 4 barrels of hay, and they're like 3 feet from each other, and that's your ring.
Oh man. I had a bare knuckle note that I was gonna write down, and I just glossed over it. Like, I don't want it.
We can talk about your second favorite thing. Like I said, Thiago Santos would probably fight in that night organization with no shield.
Yes.
And walk through everything.
A fucking mallet.
He pulls off the hammer from his chest.
He just removes it.
Yeah, man, that's a scary.
I'm here for dark matter, Thiago Santos.
What do we think of Kevin Holland though? What do you guys think of? I guess I don't know, potential. You know, do you think maybe bringing him in was too? Well, I don't know, too fast.
So he's 25 and only been fighting for 3 years. Like, stick him on some prelims, and like I want to see what he does when. Because Santos is really one of those live or die fighters. Like, there's a reason that he's only been to decision once in like 3 years. It's because he doesn't know how to turn it off, and that's great when everything you throws has the power to knock somebody out. but it also leaves you open. It leaves you openings like the one Holland exploited, where he took him down and was basically on top of him for the entirety, like the second half of the second round.
Yeah.
So, like I'm not sure where Holland's at. Like he's tough. He's tough as shit. And he's got a great frame for fighting. So I'm interested. I'm not gonna put a. I'm not gonna like try and put a ceiling because this is the only fight I've seen of him. I haven't seen the Dana White Contender Series fight yet.
He was very composed against Santiago in the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. He did plenty of chatting and same old talking.
They said that was the reason he didn't get signed after that.
There were there were
like
a few moments where it felt like he could have finished the fight, but just kind of never stepped on the gas. For me, I just don't want to see this guy get the Lando Venata treatment. Like, he's fun. He came in on short notice. He put on a performance that got people talking about him. And with Lando, it was like, okay, now let's see how fast we can get him there, like to the top of the division. Give Holland some time. 185 is thickening up pretty well. Give him a little bit of time. If he wants to go back to 170, that's interesting. He only cut like 7 pounds, and he only he didn't rehydrate too far up out of 185. So maybe he goes back down. Maybe he goes to 170, but I prefer to see him at 185. Just don't rush him. Give him time.
Yeah, and I think the benefit is he didn't, his performance wasn't, exactly like Venata's, where Venata Galba, because he was basically one punch away from beating Tony Ferguson.
Which was right. Although I think that was more of an indictment of Tony Ferguson just being a total goof.
Exactly.
Like, if you put anybody in there with Tony Ferguson, he will give them a chance to do something.
Which makes it all the more miraculous that he's won 13 fights in a row.
I'm not here for the Tony Ferguson slander. But yeah, just don't rush Holland. Give him some time. Let him develop at his own pace.
Yeah, I agree. Put him on a prelim somewhere.
Go ahead.
No,
he got hit with a hammer fist that looked like his head was gonna go through the cage, like through the mat, and he was still talking as after.
Right. that was the wildest part. It's like, do you not know your life is on the line right now?
I would be like, you ever see what was it? God, Space Jam, when Tweety Bird's in the iron lung at halftime. If Santos hit me with one of those, I would be in the iron lung. It was just brutal.
I think that's what I like about him. He seems so.
He's different.
Yeah, he's something different. You throw him in there, you're gonna get a win or lose. It's gonna be an experience. So yeah, props to Kevin Holland, man. That's a really tough fight to have on such short notice, and I mean, it's just a miracle he didn't get finished. I think in that event itself is at least a moral victory. Right. But Thiago Santos, if you're going to 205, man, I'm all for it. Go up there and wreak havoc, breathe some life into a division that could use it. Get some of those other older gentlemen.
It's insane to think this. He fought at 170. On
Jesus.
Tough, he fought at 170. Tough Brazil.
He must have died.
He fought 3 times. That's why, of all the things that, when they get rid of Tough, that's going to be the number one thing that I'm just going to be happy will never happen again. Those guys having to make that weight 3 times in, a filming session, he made weight 3 times at 170. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And he lost to Leonardo Santos, who's a 155er. So that's just madness.
Yeah.
Although we don't even know if he exists anymore. Leonardo Santos has disappeared.
He's a myth. Didn't he want? I thought he. What happened? Didn't he have a fight that got announced and then? I don't know. I feel like a year ago I saw his name float around. He's gonna have a fight and then something.
He was gonna fight Nick Lentz.
He went back into the shadows.
He was gonna fight Nick Lentz at some June or July Brazilian show. UFC Fight Night 130. Oh, he's gonna fight at 131.
The one that David Tamer took.
Yes. Yeah. He's gonna the Rivera Moraes fight.
Yeah, which Tamer I think wound up taking that fight.
Yeah, and he ended up. I think he broke his hand or something.
God.
All I know is that I never want to hear a comment about my love for Francisco Trinaldo because Leonardo Santos is clearly the guy who gets the most undue mentions every time I'm on here.
I mean, he beat Thiago Santos.
You know what though?
Right.
But that was first off, that's reality television. We know that that's not real. Okay, it was reality TV.
What if it just came out that like the UFC was telling fighters on Tough to Lose?
What if it just came out?
What if it just came out that the UFC is like these
Oh.
aren't real fights? Blow it, and we'll give you like $28,000.
I mean, why didn't they tell that to whoever was fighting Kimbo? Roy Nelson, right?
Maybe they tried to.
Oh man, that's why they don't like him. Understood.
Oh man.
I don't know.
Well, that was the main card. Going on to the prelims, which were actually pretty fun. Also, feature bout on the prelims: Pedro Munoz and Brett Johns. Very entertaining fight, but poor Brett Johns. I mean, dude is tough as you can be, but my God, did he eat just a lot of strikes, just a lot of punishment. He got his leg pretty brutally beat up. Got everything but the kitchen sink pretty much thrown at him.
This man got knocked down 3 different ways.
I don't know what else to say other than like the fight was really entertaining, but it was it's one of those fights that was like one-sided but still fun to watch because you were just looking at Johns and it's like, how are you still standing right now? And you're actually like, you're throwing shots back, you're still trying to be in this fight, but in real life you should be dead.
Well, the answer to that is Pedro Munoz kind of just kept letting him go.
Yeah,
I dropped you on a leg kick. I'm going to freaking jump. I'm going to jump down for an inverted heel hook.
Right.
I think Anna Cole said it best. He was committed to the gimmick of the guillotine. It's like, fuck, I gotta hit my finish.
Yeah, like I hate when fighters, unless you're like god level submission, like the Damian Maya type.
Pedro Munoz probably has the best guillotine in MMA.
But it's, I don't know, man. Like clearly we know who's winning the stand-up battle. Like it's not even a question. And it's just like you keep rocking them, and then you just go for these submissions, and nothing happens. And you think after like the first 2 times, you'd be like, all right, maybe I shouldn't do this. But he just kind of.
He saw it as a challenge.
I mean,
how about the best part is the true best part is like, all right, Brett Johns gets back up, whatever happens, guy recovered. It was like Pedro Munoz was begging him to knock him out. Just hit him with the same overhand right over and over and over. And Munoz never did anything to like, oh man, maybe I should block that. He just got hit with the same punch over and over in the second round. He's only got one chance to win, and you're giving it to him. Pedro Munoz is the most frustrating 135er in the history of the world. He just is.
Hey, you're not wrong.
Lucky for him, he didn't end up on the wrong side of a highlight reel.
Cost himself $50,000.
Yeah, he's really lucky Brett Johns isn't really a finisher. Like.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, could you imagine what would have happened if, like, he goes for that guillotine, doesn't get it, they stand back up, and Brett Johns just, like, cracks him with the right hand, and he just, like, flatlines him. And this fight has a completely different narrative.
That's why it should have ended. That's how it should have ended. The only way you're going to stop bad behavior is by something like that happening.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, but I like Munoz though, so I'm happy he got the W. And I mean, and not to take away from it, like it was a really dominant performance, but it was just one of those performances you just get the sense like if you were fighting somebody in like the top 5, and you gave them that opportunity, oof.
Who would you take between Garbrandt and Munoz, both of you?
I'd take Garbrandt.
Yeah, I'd take Garbrandt.
Okay.
I think Munoz would start off good, and then he'll just leave one opening that, ends up costing him.
I just think the speed difference. Like you look at the Dotson fight for Munoz, where
Yeah, he couldn't catch him. He couldn't. Yeah. But congrats to Munoz, and if there's an award, a tough guy award, kind of trophy to give to Brett Johns for just living through this fight, you know, hats off to him. This next fight, Ricky Simon and Montel Jackson. All I remember from this fight is wrestling, just takedowns and such. But I don't.
Go ahead.
You remember the fight then, basically.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know what else really happened. I mean, I was happy Simon won. I root for LFA guys, so I was happy he got the win. But yeah, I remember not much going on other than just a lot of wrestling.
Dare I say grinding?
The tone in DC's voice when he realized Ricky Simone was a grinder. And he turns to Joe Rogan and just screams, "He's a grinder, Joe!"
Dude, I hate. There's nothing more physically unappealing as a fight fan than those grinders against the cage. It's nothing. Nothing's happening.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't think we have much of that.
No more grinders in MMA. More scrappers.
Holy crap, this looks like a lightweight versus a flatweight.
I suppose we can talk about Ricky Simone's hair.
Oh, sure.
That might have been the most exciting thing about the fight, if you want to, or not exciting, but it stood out.
What a dagger from you of all people. You're like the nicest guy.
Sounds like you're supposed to be the nice one.
Yeah.
I just don't remember much of this fight. It's one of those fights I was watching. I was like, all right, this is on, I guess. Like, even when I rewatched it, I think, like, I rewatched the first round, and then I ended up scrolling on Twitter, and I just, you know, it's kind of too
in my head, I kept calling him Montel Jordan.
Maybe it was Montel Williams, and he was going to plug Money Mutual for us.
Oh man, he was from Contender Series, right?
Yeah, they both were.
Yeah.
Jordan's got now he's Montel Jordan. Wait, isn't he Montel? No, wait, who is?
Miss Jackson.
God damn it. Well, this is definitely not how we do it.
You took my joke.
I'm sorry. They did not go somewhere and get it on that night. That was a bad fight. Jackson's really skilled. Like on the Contender Series against a really good regional bantamweight, he looked amazing. But there is a difference between the best of the regional scene and even the bottom tier of the UFC. And he looked, I don't want to say he looked unprepared. He just looked like a guy who didn't know what to do next each time he had success. So in time, I think he's going to be really good.
He's really only been fighting for a year.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
I know, I didn't know that, like, before the fight. Like, I didn't know anything about him, to be honest with you.
And I could be wrong about this because I don't watch, like, all of the Contender Series fights. Like, I catch some of them when I can if somebody happens to catch my eye. But I almost feel like a lot of the guys that they grab, like, a lot of them are talented, but outside of, like, a few, I feel like not all of them are really UFC ready yet. Like,
that's a good
point. They're too green. Like, they need, like, a step. Like, they should send them to LFA and see if they can, I don't know. Like, there's like a step between Contender Series and the UFC that they need to go through, before, at least for most of them.
And I think they do recognize that because now they're giving out developmental deals where you get to go to
right.
play. It is worth mentioning that Jackson almost Montel Jackson took this fight on short notice. So it is worth remembering he was like a 2-week kind of like a call up. So
yeah.
That's like a fourth of his career.
Basically. But yeah, no more grinders. No more. I refuse. I refuse to watch.
Honestly, I think that was just a product of the skill gap, just the experience gap, and just the size.
Oh, for sure. Because I think that Simone showed more against Marab Divajluvli. Like, I think he showcased more of his ability. So.
Like here, he's like, this dude is 6 feet tall, and like I can't punch with him because he will knock me out.
There was a moment in the clinch, or like they were separating, and Simone was desperately trying to get away, and Jackson just had him by the wrist.
Dude, it was like, yeah, he was literally just grabbing his whole wrist,
and he couldn't do anything. That's a lunch money tactic right there.
Like I was legit just waiting for him to pick him up by the wrist and throw him out the cage at that point.
Oh man, but yeah, that fight was
It was a fight.
happened.
It was a happening.
It was a fight. Yeah, it was a thing that happened, and we watched it, or some of us did, maybe some of us didn't. But
Sorry, Ricky Simone. Sorry, Montel Jackson / Jordan / Williams.
Yeah. But either way, Ricky Simone got the W, so congrats to him. Next fight, Ricardo Ramos, Kyung Ho Kang. What happened? What something happened while I was watching this fight? Because I wanted to see this fight because I like Kang, and like I feel like I went to do something when this fight came on.
Maybe you couldn't focus because Joe Rogan couldn't focus, so nobody can enjoy the fight.
I mean, I remember like a lot of this was them standing, just. Yeah, I wish I could remember. Like, I remember enjoying the fight, but I can't remember, like, specific details, really. But, I felt like I was entertained while I was watching.
Damn, if the commentary crew gave you a reason to fucking pay attention, you would have... Ugh. I'll let Anti Cole do a round.
Was this the 12-6?
This is the 12-6,
was that fight?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Let's just completely lose our minds.
So I meant to go back over this fight because I remember enjoying it, but like you, all I remember is the 12-6.
Garbage. Big old trash.
I remember being impressed by like Ron Ramos is just like he's only 22 years old. And his striking seems to be coming along like pretty. I don't know if quickly is the word I'd use, but like it's coming along. Because like I remember seeing him get who was it that beat his ass in RFA or LFA or Legacy?
Manny Vasquez.
Yeah, okay. I remember him just owning his ass, like just physically dominating him. And like dude has filled out since then because he does not look like the type of dude who gets like thrown around anymore. Like I really like the body punching. Like that was probably my favorite thing. Like you just straights to the body. Like you're that long, why not? Kang fought a really good fight. Like this was a split, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I scored it for Ramos because I want to say I gave the last round to Ramos. I felt like he was starting to come on more. But yeah, this was a fun fight.
No, I just remembered something. Like, Kang looks completely different from the last time I saw him. Like he looks like a completely different person than like. What was his last fight?
St. Louis against Guido Canetti.
Yeah, he looked completely different from that. Like more drained than normal.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like either more drained or just more cut. I can't tell. I don't know. It was bizarre because I remember him being like bulkier.
Yeah, I was gonna say when he first got in the UFC, he's pretty stocky.
Maybe it's like you hear this sometimes with female fighters who have like a pregnancy, and then they drop like the pregnant weight, they drop their pregnancy weight, and they wind up going down a weight class because they just drop so much weight. He did go do like the military service, so maybe military training put his body in a different,
like
I'm trying, guys.
Like
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Less weightlifting, more probably cardio and stuff.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like maybe
Yeah,
because I never looked at the Korean Zombie when he came back, so I can't say what his body looked like before or after. So, and the Zombie did come back. Korean Zombie was gone during the USADA era, so like the start of USADA, so we don't know what kind of changes his body made. This fight frustrated me because it was a good fight that I just felt like the commentary could not have given less of a shit about.
Yeah. Dude, like I really like Ramos. Like he's 22 years old. There's nothing not to like about him. Like Brazil needs somebody. Well, he just turned 23. But Brazil needs somebody to catch on, and
his body punching was great. Like you said, some of those he had like a buggy whip hook that he was just flinging out there that always landed him with power, and I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah.
And Kang is a sticky grappler, and he gave him hell on the ground too. So, all thumbs up, really. Yeah.
I'm glad I record with you guys because I would not have had any insight.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
Like I'm trying. Yeah, same. Like
I'm not trying. I'm not
I
trying.
would've read the decision
It's a
and-
great fight. It was a good fight, but I'm really pissed about.
Yeah.
that was really distracting.
Moral of the story, guys: if you go back and watch this fight, maybe just mute the audio.
No, you know what? We want you to hurt too. So you watch it with the audio, and you.
But no, yeah, it was a good fight though. It was definitely entertaining. So go back and check that out. Commentary woes continue to this next fight.
I'll let someone else handle this one.
Shaman Moraes and Matt Sales. Shaman's first fight was against
Zabit.
Zabit, right? Yeah. Like I was happy he came over because I liked him in WSOF. Obviously, your first fight against Zabit. I mean, for me, because I'd heard of Zabit, but I don't think I'd like watched him fight before that. And then after that fight happened, I was like, oh man, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I was excited to see you come over, but boy, did they not give you a fun matchup. I'm glad he got this W. I think he's a talented fighter. Just he fought Sabit, who's just like a phenom, and is kind of one of those fights where it's like you didn't even really get a chance to show much because you fought a dude who was just uber talented. But yeah, he looked pretty good in this fight. Lot of power shots, but yeah, this was a fight where the commentary was kind of wild. As I said before we started recording, the first time I watched this fight, the language was in Spanish. I won't say why it was in Spanish, but if you can put the dots together, you'll figure that out. So I didn't catch the commentary, and I'm glad I didn't because I was able. I think I did though in the middle of this fight. I had to get up and do something, but like while I watched it, I was entertained because I saw people on Twitter complaining about the commentary, but mine was in Spanish and they just sounded excited, so I was happy with what was going on. It was a pretty good fight, good showing for Moraes. I was impressed with Sales. Like he kept a pretty good pace throughout this entire fight. Like he never looked tired, while also I don't think he was really winning. He still just like he kept a good pace. He kept it competitive, but I think Moraes was landing the harder shots. Though Sales did start to come on in the third round. He definitely started picking his game up. He started landing some hard shots, but I thought Sales pretty handedly took the first two. And then when I rewatched the fight this morning, I heard the commentary, and normally commentary doesn't really bother me, but after I watched it, I was like, okay, now I see what people are talking about. Like clearly, Rogan was. All right, you have your biases. You want to pull for your guy, whatever. But you don't have to be so. As I said before we started recording, it was like Rogan was watching like his friend fight, and even though his friend was losing, because he was his friend, he just nitpicked on the very small things that he did well to kind of make it seem like he wasn't losing. He kept mentioning like, oh, he's rolling his shoulder. while these strikes are happening. He's evading damage and so on and so forth. And it's like, all right, that might be partially true, but he's not winning.
Oh,
Like-
Matt Sales, he turned his body so the kick only, kind of mostly landed to his ribs, as opposed to fully landed to his ribs.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Commentary was kind of out of control, but that aside, if you could ignore it, it was an entertaining fight. Decent showing for Moraes. Like I said, he kind of got in trouble in the third round, but it's a strong kickboxer. Pretty entertaining fighter. So I was happy with the decision. Now I'll let you guys go roast Rogan for his commentary.
I mean, I don't got it in me. I'm sorry. Joey, this is all you.
Oh, it's all mine. It's my thing. I see. Calling a fight is very hard. Like, even if you, just for the sake of argument, watch a fight on YouTube you've never seen before and try to commentate on it. Just in your room or like with a friend, try to commentate on it. It's not easy. But I felt like as soon as they mentioned that Matt Sales trains with Dominic Cruz and Alliance MMA, Joe Rogan picked his winner. And it was just a matter of whether or not it was going to come to fruition for him. Because almost all of the commentary was downplaying everything Shayman Moraes was doing. And the most minute things that Matt Sales did that were partially impressive were like world enders. And that commentary hurts everybody for two reasons. One, if you're rooting for Shayman Moraes, you're going to hate Matt Sales for no reason other than the fact that the commentary is feeding you something you don't want. And so you reject it and you backlash about it. If you're rooting for Matt Sales, you're going to hate Shayman Moraes because Joe Rogan is telling you everything you want to hear, he's telling you, regardless of whether or not it's entirely accurate. And it's not to say that Matt Sales didn't have good moments in the fight, but it was clearly Shayman Moraes winning. And so at the end of that fight, nobody's happy because both sides dislike the other person simply because of what the commentary is giving them. And so that helps nobody. And Joe Rogan's been doing this a long time, longer than I've been a fan. And so when you can pick up on it, if somebody like me who hasn't been doing this, who hasn't been following the sport for a million years can pick up on it, I can imagine other people can pick up on it too and be upset about it. So I got why everybody was mad. And I know that it's just a prelim like filler fight to some people, but it makes a difference over the grand. It's like the Covington RDA fight or Khabib Ally Aquinta fight. He's the voice that people trust because he's been there the longest. And when his commentary is slightly askew, it's gonna upset people. So it's not like people overreacting. This is not like the first time it's happened recently. So at some point, and I'm not saying that he has to be fired or anything like that, but I just like a little bit more consistency from the lead. He's basically the lead guy because he's the guy who's been there the longest. He's the longest tenured. So when he does stuff like this, it's frustrating because I can see somebody like DC doing it because he's inexperienced. And because DC trains with... If DC watches an AKA guy and he's biased, I get it. But with Rogan, it's always just like it's just weird and it's frustrating because you can always tell when it's going to start. And then it's going to carry on no matter what. He didn't end the fight discussing like, hey, great performance by Shayman Moraes. He was advocating, what if there was an extra 10 minutes? That completely discredits...
Extra 10 minutes and taking a point away
that completely discredits Shayman Moraes' performance, which was really, really good. So now, if you're somebody who doesn't follow the sport the way that we do, if you hear Shayman Moraes' name, your memory might not be, hey, he fought a great fight that was really entertaining, that he won by decision. It's going to be like, oh, that was the guy who, he barely beat this other dude. Because the commentary jabronied him. And that's a big problem, specifically if you're trying to get some new guys a little bit of attention. So, and it's like in my entire rant right there, I never mentioned Matt Sales, what he did well, because it's like I was so grossed out by the commentary that I almost didn't see him. Because it's like, what are you feeding me compared to what I'm seeing? I'm seeing him have a good fight, but he's not winning. But my damn, if you're not trying to make it sound like he is. And why? Like, because he trains with Dominic Cruz? Like, come on, let's be fair.
Dude, like, this was a pretty clear 2-1, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, like, I thought
No, yeah, Shaman definitely took the
Sales
first 2
had a
rounds.
great third round, I thought.
So, at the end of the fight, you have DC and Rogan on commentary just being like, they're talking about ways that Sales actually won the fight. Like, they were talking about how round 2 was like a toss-up to them. And this shit is
Yeah, I don't know
killed
what
me.
they were.
Yeah, like, and I'm not, look, again, if I had to do that, it would be so hard for me. Like, if I had to call a fight, I would be lost. So I understand that it's difficult, and there's a lot of things going on, but it was like, it was like he doubled down on it, repeated. It was like the Covington RDA fight, which we kind of got pissed about, where it was like, Colby Covington was winning, but it suddenly became that there was, like, RDA wasn't even in the picture. And sometimes when you tell, like, you control the narrative when you're the commentator. And when the narrative is askew, I think it's okay for people to be mad about that.
Right. I'm trying to think, because I'm trying to think, like, there have been fights where, like, I'll go back and you see the dissonance between what's going on in the ring and the cage, and and what Rogan's actually saying on commentary, and then you look at people who talk about the fight in today, and it won't be what's actually happening in the fight. It'll be like stuff they heard Rogan say.
Right.
And so,
Like what was it? Like comparatively, like the Khabib who got rocked by Michael Johnson narrative.
right.
Because everybody thinks he got rocked by him, but he got hit once and was already defending. Like, there was no serious hit there. So, I don't know. I'm like exhausted now from that. Tired. Well, because I'm trying to be so, because it's such a hard job. Commentary's calling a fight live, and you probably got somebody in your ear at the same time, and you've got 2 other people who you have to be respectful to because you're working with them. It's a lot. I get it, but those really upset me.
I guess for me, like, I don't mind you having biases. Like, he's really close to the sport. Obviously, you know these people. You're probably friends with some of them. Like, that's cool. Well, we all have our biases, but you can't just be so. I can't know you have your bias, or even if I do know that you have it, you gotta at least acknowledge the other guy. Like, don't be so blatant. You know.
This felt like Dominic Cruz went to Joe Rogan sometime earlier in the week and was just like, "Watch out for my boy Matt Sale. Like, he's a really smart, really young dude." And Joe Rogan just kind of like latched onto that as he went through his like fighter interviews and like, you know, while he was doing his research for to do commentary, and just kind of latched onto any little thing.
Yeah.
Which is you know, like, I don't know what to say necessarily in terms of just if that is the case, if that isn't the case. But it sounds like, and it puts DC and Anik in an awkward situation too, because they have to talk about the fight at the same time you're talking about the fight and kind of swim with you. And Cormier is trying to be as fair as he can while also being analytical and not burying Rogan. And it just created like this awkward dynamic to me. Like, you could tell that there was a dynamic shift in the commentary.
Right.
You know what, real quick before we go on to the next fight, now that you mentioned Anik's name, I've realized Anik normally just annoys me a lot. He hasn't annoyed me in a very long time.
I think he's fine. I think he's good.
Yeah, like he normally just, I don't know, there's something about him that just like,
Rude.
I'm just like, why are you here?
Double rude.
But he doesn't bother me anymore. And I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if he's gotten better or maybe I just stopped being unfair.
There's just something about the play-by-play guy who, like, the straight guy who is just always going to come off as corny.
Right.
Like,
I don't know. It doesn't bother me anymore. So, I don't know. Shout out to
maybe it's just because Joe Rogan and, like, DC are just, like, such big personalities, and Anik's kind of just...
It might, yeah, maybe it is. Like, he kind of gets, like, he still talks, but, like, they're kind of the bulk of, you know,
Right.
the commentary. So, like, when he does come in, it's just like, all right. He's not talking too much, so it doesn't.
I don't remember John Ennis speaking on Saturday, so.
Right.
You know what?
Like
You know
normally.
what? Holy shit! Now that you mention it, I don't think I do either.
So
Yeah, like I don't know. Go, John Ennis. Good job. Whatever you're
collect
doing.
the check.
Right. You go. Get your check.
No, and I apologize for that big. I don't even call it a tirade. It's a critique about the UFC product that has kind of gotten worse to me. You know.
No, I'm glad you drug that out because I honestly don't want to talk about this next fight.
What was the next one? Oh, whoops.
Oh, God.
Oops.
This was the only fight I chose not to rewatch. I didn't want to live through this again. This was not fun.
You want me to cue this one up?
Yeah, you can take this.
All right. So we had a flyweight affair on the Fight Pass prelims as the I guess headliner, and we had Alex Perez fighting friend of the pod, Jose Shorty Torres, and in about like 3 minutes and 30 seconds, Alex Perez laid a pretty one-sided beat down on Shorty and knocked him out. Like, was he out cold?
I think he was getting pummeled against the fence, and then as soon as he went down, they called it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just called it. Yeah, it was a terrible accumulation of
Yeah,
punishment.
no, not a good night.
Yeah. Shout outs to another podcast I follow, Fight Stance Podcast. I was listening to them earlier. One of the metrics they read off, apparently inside of this very short span, Alex Perez landed like 104 significant strikes.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Jeez, like he unloaded on Torres, man. It was hard to watch. And Torres, man, I love him to death. I think kind of like in somewhat similar vein to Garbrandt, like the things that make him entertaining are kind of also his downfall. Like he is always willing to take a hit to give one, but in this fight that did not work because he ate a lot of shots. Yeah, man, it was bad. But Perez was phenomenal though. Like he really, you can't draw up a better beatdown than that, man. Like he poured it on like Torres. He couldn't breathe. Like there was no chance to breathe, man. He just, yeah, it was rough.
I've never seen Alex Perez stitch punches together like that before.
Like Perez looked like a top 10, like he looked like a title contender out there. Like he looked like he was fighting for his life. Like they promised him a special reward or something if he won, and he just went out there and just he laid it on him. But I mean, good for him. I mean, anybody who's been following Torres know he's had hype around him. So I don't know. Maybe Perez saw that shine and figured I want that, and he went out there and did his thing. Yeah, that was. Oof.
It is, I suppose, worth mentioning that Alex Perez was a lightweight in there. So I suppose if you're holding on to something to kind of hang your hat on for Jose Torres, it was the fact that Perez rehydrated to like 146.
Yeah.
So he was basically a lightweight.
Well, like Torres was what, 142 or something?
Listen,
143.
It's not about.
Let us have our small.
It's not about that. That's still That's still a weight class apart.
Fair enough, but
that's still one guy weighing one thing and another guy weighing different about.
Yeah, I think one of Torres' downfalls, I mean, aside from eating that many strikes in a row, I think it is, now I have to be honest, it's kind of the same thing we saw with him in Titan in some fights, to where like he's an exciting fighter, but he's just willing to take too much to give. And I think there's a difference in competition levels where like in Titan and in his earlier fights he was kind of able to get away with that because I mean he was fighting. The fighters were talented, but they weren't. You stated before, there's a difference between that level and even like the bottom tier of the UFC. Like it's just a different ball game. A lot of those things you can't really get away with anymore. And also in this fight, even when he threw, he doesn't throw in like combinations as much. I think in some of his earlier fights, he could get away with it because he is a really hard puncher. Like we've seen him put dudes out, but it's kind of a different ball game now. The competition is up, so you kind of have to adjust accordingly. And
So I want to just throw this out there, like besides being a slow starter and being hella stiff, like that's what it is. Like he stands straight up and like he's in the position where he can't really slip punches. He's always walking forward, so he's always on his lead foot, and his head's just kind of there to be hit. But like he's not the fastest dude for flyweight.
Yeah.
And another guy with a rather big head for a small weight class. So, and that I'm just saying, like when you're Brian Stan, you can't really move out of the way of shots, and Torres kind of has a similar shape. I'm a guy with a big head, like I know it's. If you have a bigger head, it's harder to move it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think though, like those flaws in his game, I would hope through who's ever coaching him, like those can be corrected. Because I still think he has a pretty high upside, but like if you're gonna advance, not even in flyweight, because that's what at 135. If you're gonna advance, regardless, anywhere you fight in the UFC, you're gonna have to plug those holes. You can't have those kind of fights because I mean you might win some, but you also might end up like this. You don't want this to happen again.
Yeah, this is the one downside to having only 35 fighters in your division, where like if in a Just World Torres loses this fight, goes back down the ladder. But not that he's all that high up on the ladder anyway, but like he goes down the ladder and he gets a rebound fight against somebody who's at the bottom of the division. But like Eric Shelton's like what 1-3 in the UFC,
Yeah.
and he's a talented guy.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Like you go down and like it's I don't know like Mark De La Rosa, who just got a big win over Elias Garcia.
Yeah, Roberto Sanchez or
Like these dudes are really good athletes, if nothing else.
Yep.
So it's like it doesn't get any easier.
right, which is why I guess I kind of never really liked 125 as like the permanent home for him. Not that 135 is any worse, or I mean any less thick, but there's a little bit more give. You can probably find the best 125ers are going to be in the UFC, whereas you can probably find a few 135ers who, you can find a Yoatsin Meza or a Chico Camus who's going to test you but not beat you.
Exactly.
So, it's absolutely a different world.
Like there's no Luigi Burren at the bottom of like flyweight.
How dare you?
All right, I'm sorry, Barat Kandare. Or
Kandare.
Kandare.
We have Indian listeners who were very, very powerful.
They weren't on the list this week.
Okay, understood. Maybe because we didn't talk about Barat Kandare. But no.
No, we'll get that one. We'll get that one Indian view. They'll be there.
Imagine it's Barat.
Oh man.
But, it's not gonna be a fun night for anybody.
Shout outs to Perez though. It was a really
go up to 130.
Super one-sided.
Don't do that cut. That's not a good cut for you. You missed weight once. Maybe rehydrated pretty big.
Yeah. But hopefully Torres can fix those holes in his game. So definitely looking forward to see him back to see if if he improves and such.
I'm not off that bandwagon. I don't think anybody should be off that bandwagon.
No,
still hella young.
Yeah, still young, still got time to get it together. But Perez, hats off. The whole fight was just one long Tekken combo. I can't even hate. You did what you were supposed to do. All right, this next fight. Zhang, is it Wei Li?
Yeah.
Wei Li Zhang.
And Danielle Taylor. I wasn't really aware of Zhang. I just know she came over from Kunlun. I saw some highlights of her on Twitter from a few people. But I'm glad she came over. I did like what I saw. But Danielle Taylor just really confuses me sometimes. Obviously, for someone so small, she can crack. Like, she caught Wei Li with I don't remember if it's a right. I don't remember what round it happened in. But she tagged her a couple of good times. But it's just like her volume is so not really there. And then for someone who's so small, I don't know, I would think that she would like try to get on the inside more, especially as somebody who, like, if she catches you flush, she's gonna hurt you. But like, she plays the outside and doesn't really do much out there. And I don't know. It's something about her game that just seems like there's something missing there. Like, I don't know. But Zhang Wei Li definitely did her thing, put on a pretty nice, kickboxing clinic. Little bit of taunting here and there, having fun out there. But I don't know if it's just me. Wei Li looks really like sturdy for like a strawweight. Well, maybe that was because Taylor's just so small.
No, she is.
But
she's a strong ass strawweight.
Yeah, she seems she's built for tough. Like, she's just extra sturdy. But yeah, I like her game though. Like, just really, really strong, really good kickboxer. Look like she's having fun out there when she fights. Definitely interested to see like how far she can go. I think she'll have some fun matchups if anything else. But yeah, I don't know. It was just, I don't know. Taylor is just weird to watch sometimes. I don't know. But I really like what I saw from Zhang though. She's somebody who, somebody I want to go back and now just watch her older fights to see what else she has in her game, and definitely looking forward to her next fight, because like I said, she is a very sturdy strawweight who definitely has some pretty good kickboxing that she can build on. But yeah,
real quick. So I've never seen video of the fight. I've never I can't find anybody confirm it. But not too long after she debuted, pro wise in Kunlun, she did an interview where she talked about how she fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk in an amateur kickboxing match and knocked her out. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what the deal is with that, but it kind of tells me she comes from she comes from a real legit kickboxing background, which we saw a little bit here. She has one of the meanest switch kicks in the division, which she used repeatedly against Taylor. I really like this fight for her debut, because it's kind of actually been the theme of what we've been talking about so far, with all these young fighters coming into the UFC and kind of falling flat on their face. Before technique, before skill level and all that other stuff, the number one difference between the bottom of the top of the regional scene, even in China, and where you have a whole country of fighters who probably are really never actually left, so they're all their best athletes are still fighting on the regional scene. The bottom of the UFC, those guys and gals are athletes. Maybe not women's bantamweight or women's featherweight, but as strawweight, there's a division with depth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you when you get thrown in there with someone like Taylor, who is a ridiculously good athlete, she's really quick and she can crack, and she's really strong. I think that's a very good test for where you're at. So I really like this matchup from that standpoint. She did get cracked a few times, and I think it ended up costing her around on all 3 scorecards, which I thought was weird. But I think she's China's best chance for a title right now. I think she's that good.
I mean, I like the fight. I really don't have anything super technical to add to that. It sure seems like these Chinese fighters that they're bringing in are really, really sturdy in terms of like the way they're put together. You look at a guy like Li Jingliang. I can't remember the name. Zhao Zhaonan, the other strawweight they signed.
Oh, right.
And they're all really well put together, so to speak. And I think that's the difference. Like right out the gate, that's the difference between them and some of the other fighters that they signed from other countries who are probably not as. Like you look at somebody like Marlon Vera, so to speak, and you look at those guys and Diego Ribas and from some of the South American fighters who they just don't look like they've ever seen a weight room before. And I think that's absolutely going to help her going forward because she's obviously a good striker. So you'd have to assume she's going to have to deal with the Esparza types who are going to want to take her down. And it looks like she's got a sturdy frame for takedown defense. I thought it was a good debut. I'm enthused by what the UFC is doing in China, who they're getting. There's no Royston Wee, you know what I mean? Like there's no guy signed just because he's from there. No gal signed just because she's from that region. They're getting some good talent, and I'm excited. You know, I like the fight in general. I thought Taylor did some good things as well. She had her typical kind of like do good enough just to do good in a loss. You know what I mean? So I don't know what her future is in this division. I think she's going to be one of those people who she'll always exist because they need bodies there. And for Weili Zhang, I'm slow build. Don't rush it. Slow build with her as well.
Right. Like just to put like a little bit of note on that. Like China was a place where you could make like $10,000 a fight and fight like 10 times a year. Like,
right.
There was like there's actual money in that scene, and as a result, like the Chinese fighters are closer to like, I guess you could say like Russia than they are to like Mexico.
Right, I know what you're saying. Like the best in Latin America normally have to go to Brazil.
To
like
get,
you get
to get
fights.
top notch, to get fights and to get top notch training.
Right.
Like this is all just stuff from like I've heard. I've not seen like any like you know any anything to back this, but but you see in stuff like Come to Fight where like they get a government deal to host a kickboxing card every other Sunday of the year, and they get it and they have a TV audience of like 100 million people. Like there is money going into the combat sports scene there. It's either direct or indirectly, it's bleeding over into MMA as well. So
I got what you mean now because I think you said that Saturday. So now I understand what you're saying.
Right. So like it makes sense. Like all these fighters actually look like professional athletes, as opposed to just like somebody who got into MMA and just happened to be really good. And the UFC showed up in their country and needed somebody.
I wonder if they'll, because I don't think she got cracked a few times. She didn't take any major damage. I wonder if they'll throw her on that Beijing.
Oh, they're going to.
That's November, yeah. Give her like a Jamie Moyle type, Jody Escabel type, I guess. Somebody who she's just naturally going to be better than from a physical standpoint. Yeah, and like Anna Cool said, this division, like comparatively, I hate to call anybody out, but Betch Kohea was just an accountant who wanted to like stay in shape.
Yeah.
Compared to, some of these 115ers who are just natural athletes. So I totally get what he was saying there, and it's good test. I'm excited to see how China develops.
Yeah, so we guys keep out for the Beijing card in November. There should be hopefully another Song Yadong you know, there should be a lot going on in
Yeah,
that card.
and you know what? Like, they're not all going to be home runs, but hit enough singles, and you develop a bit of a following. You develop a bit of a groundswell.
Right. So there's definitely something there. But yeah, definitely congrats to Zhang. That was a really good performance. And this last fight to complete the card, Marlon Vera and Wulaji Barin. Honestly, don't remember this fight in much detail except for that last body shot. Jesus Christ, that Vera just killed him with. I love body shots. I feel like they've been showing up more,
Yeah.
but like every fighter should have. This needs to be in your repertoire, man. Like they're just so vicious if you can just put it in the right place. Just yeah, that was a nasty, really nasty body shot that just kind of floored Buren, and it was a wrap. There was no coming back from that.
There are fewer. Like I can't think of a strike that's probably safer than a properly thrown body shot. So yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for everybody to catch on.
Yeah, they need to, especially when you got somebody, especially when you have them like up against the cage. If you're going for that last, like you got them rocked, and you're doing that last flurry against the cage, don't just go to the head, man. Give them 1 or 2 body shots. You're gonna drop them. You're gonna floor them because they just perfect placement, and then they go out, and a lot of times there's no coming back from that. But yeah, great, awesome finish from Vera, and also I think we said also before we started recording, like he's just one of those guys because of his story that you just root for him every time he goes out there. But he performs also, like he goes out there and he does his thing. So congrats to him, and that was a vicious vicious finish from Vera.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only other thing I can comment on is that Waluigi Burin, a little too close to Waluigi for my sister's taste. So she just kept asking me, "Is his name really Waluigi?" And I had to consistently correct her.
His name is the Beastmaster.
And then it was like
man.
I had to think of who MMA's Wario would be, and I'm not sure I have a.
Warley?
No, like I'm trying to think of like a squat, fat.
Oh, like
Yeah,
an
like
actual,
actual
oh, like an
Wario.
actual person.
And I have no
Ah,
idea.
who? God. It's a Brazilian dude. God, I do not remember his name, and I don't know what card he was on, so this is useless. There was a very round but sturdily built
Wario
Brazilian
Alvarez?
gentleman. No.
There was a Wario in the UFC.
Was there really?
I think so. Either that, I think I'm thinking of Wario Alvarez.
There was a built, I want to say he was like a welterweight, but dude looked like a middleweight. God, I cannot remember. It's going to bug me now. And I can't look him up because I don't even remember what card he was on or who he fought. When I remember, I'll let you know who Wario is.
My first thought was, what's the name of that dude who, not Sean Jordan, he fought Sean Jordan. He fights in the PFL, he's Josh Copeland.
Oh.
I could see that. I could definitely.
But Marlon,
see that.
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, this got Vera back in the win column. I forgot. Yeah, he dropped 2 in a row.
Good
so.
for Marlon Vera.
Yeah, it's got him back in the win column. So congrats to Marlon Vera, and that rounds out the entire card. Pretty much from top to bottom. Yeah, this card was pretty awesome, man. Like great main event and co-main event. Got to see some new fighters show their faces. We got a chance to just see some one-sided beatdowns go one way or another. Fighters trash talk while they evade incoming bombs. It was a lot going on. This card was pretty entertaining. And actually, like I was tired watching this card, but like that Cejudo fight was so good that it just like re-energized me. And then I forgot that like, oh, we still got one more to go, and this might even be better. and then the main event happened, and that was awesome. So, yeah, I would say UFC 227 all in all, I was pretty happy with what I got, man. It was definitely a card to go back and watch if you didn't get a chance to catch it. So yeah, that was UFC 227. Did we have questions?
We did. Let me pull up the posts. I saw one on Facebook.
Can you bring up the Tumblr? I'll do the Facebook.
All right, we got questions from the homie Manta23. Question: Y'all ready for Moraes to get this WSOF takeover started? When he kick/knees TJ's head into the 5th row.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I can't call it a full WSOF takeover because he might be the only one. But I'm rooting for Dave Branch too. He might make it.
So you're telling me Blue Boy, even though this is going to make a career turnaround?
Oh my god. To me, that's the only fight that makes sense, by the way. Not just like Moraes TJ, like thinking about it. It's basically the only fight that I think anybody would really, unless you really, really, really want to see Dillashaw beat Dominic Cruz, because Cruz hasn't fought since December of 2016, and so would be like a 2-year layoff, give or take, because you would assume it would happen December-ish. And we know that TJ Dillashaw is unreal in rematches, so that's the only fight that makes sense to me.
Right.
Unless you just want to see Cruz get slapped around.
Yeah. I'm all about the Moraes takeover. And it's partially biased because I've just been a fan of his for so long, and I've always told people like this dude can be champ. He just needs to make it to the UFC and show it. But I think TJ's fought a lot of good competition. Obviously, the dude is crazy talented. Like you said, he'll definitely go down as one of the best bantamweights to ever walk this planet. I think Moraes, though, the challenge he brings, I don't think TJ has fought somebody who's like, if you've watched Moraes, man, this dude can end fights in like the blink of an eye. And he's a really strong bantamweight. The dude his striking prowess is just, it's really, 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 really high level. I think he can give TJ some problems, and I think if he clips TJ, he'll be smart enough not to go in reckless and get caught with a right hand 3 times in a row. I think I can trust him to do that. But yeah, I think Moraes is gonna. I think he's taking the belt. I definitely think he's taking the belt. And actually, I'll tie that into the Facebook question because it's somewhat in a similar vein. So shout outs to my homie Shotty7, who actually, if you listen to my Sounds Like Fun podcast, he's the intro to that podcast. So thanks for letting me use your song. Appreciate it. But his wasn't really a question. I guess we kind of covered this already, but the gist of his question is, I guess, in terms of bantamweight and featherweight, I guess just like what are the next steps and who gets next at the title shot. So I guess we pretty much covered bantamweight. I think we all agree it's probably going to be Moraes. If not Moraes, it'd be a Sunsao, but I don't think any of us think that fight will happen.
Everybody's just holding the title for Petr Yan, man.
Right.
He's coming.
Does he have another fight?
Yes, he's going to fight. Was he fight Alcantara, or am I thinking somebody else?
Douglas Andrade.
Ah, there we go.
Somebody
who's a really good bantamweight in his own right.
Yeah, really solid.
And so yeah, that's pretty much bantamweight. It's got to be either Moraes or Sunsao. Featherweight.
I mean, it's still Max Holloway Ortega.
Yeah.
Assuming that Holloway says he's getting better, so we have to believe him.
Yeah. So it's either Holloway or Ortega. If for some reason Holloway can't get ready in in a decent amount of time, maybe Holloway Aldo. I'm not Holloway Aldo. Maybe
Ortega
Aldo. Maybe even somehow get Moicano in the mix. I think he's earned that shot. Like I said, he might not have the notoriety, but in terms of skill level, I think he's right up there with everybody else. So I wouldn't be mad if he somehow found himself in like a contender fight. But yeah, the 3 names for 45 I would say is obviously Ortega, Moicano, and Aldo. So I think those are the next best bets for 45.
Agreed.
So that was the Facebook question. Any more Tumblr?
Yes. Monta23 also wanted to ask about our thoughts on Kovalev getting roasted.
I actually did not get a chance to watch that fight, so I can't really comment.
My thoughts. I always liked Kovalev as an in-ring competitor, but like some of the shit he said outside the ring, fuck him.
Ooh.
So hey, I'm just keeping it real. So to see him lose to a Colombian, getting knocked down 3 times in the span of like 2 minutes was amazing, and I'm with it.
Nice.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna get one of my shout outs out the way real quick. Shouts to Eladar Alvarez. Freaking, you made my weekend.
There you
go. Also, real quick, since we have Tito Chuck 3 hanging on the horizon somewhere. How badly did Kovalev fuck himself?
Okay.
Yeah, with that contract.
I forgot, what was his contract? I remember we talked about it before, but I don't remember.
So for the second Andre Ward fight, after the first fight did something like 120 to 155,000 pay-per-view buys, Kovalev was like, I'm not going to take a purse. I'm going to take a cut of the pay-per-view revenue.
Oh.
Yeah. So Tito Ortiz is basing his model off of that. Like, if you're a fighter and you're like looking around and like you see that Kathy Duva accepted that for you, or maybe I don't know if she was the one who was like, that's what we're gonna do, or if it was Kovalev and he thought the second fight would do numbers because the first fight actually turned out to be okay. But like, how do you sign with them? Like, that's like a career ender.
I don't disagree.
Well, after getting knocked out, I think he has time to sit and
And wait, who is Andre Ward represented by?
Rock Nation.
I cannot it's hard for me to believe that Kathy Duva could have been outsmarted by, you know.
I think, you know what I think it was? I honest to God think that she thought Kovalev won the first fight and was going to win the second one easy.
But that still doesn't necessarily, why? Why would you still put that contract together? Because Kathy Duva's she's a professional pro at this. She's been in it for a zillion years. I just don't understand. That still boggles my mind that she was like, yeah, it's all right.
I could not tell you, man.
Like Tito, whatever. Tito Ortiz, we goof. Everybody goofs on Tito for a million different things. Whereas Kathy Duva is genuinely considered a pretty savvy businesswoman. So it's very weird.
I don't know.
Maybe there's some back room.
I mean,
something
if we're
going
to be real about it, Rock Sports Nation, whatever, definitely lost money on the fight because they paid Andre Ward like $10 million for a fight nobody bought and no one paid to see.
Dude, the best part is that it was based upon pay-per-view revenue, I believe, if I remember correctly, basically what you had said. And then Andre Ward decided he just wasn't going to promote the fight. So it's like a double whammy.
You have Kovalev out here who can't speak in English without saying something at least slightly racist.
Yeah.
And then you have Andre Ward who refuses to talk to anybody.
Yeah, just I'm not gonna do the. I think it was they wanted to do a big presser. Yeah, like a big.
Yeah, he demanded that they have in his contract.
And it was Andre
Ward's idea.
Jesus. Oh, that's an awkward phone call to have after that loss.
Dude,
They're just like, you know.
yeah, that fight, those fights ruined Kovalev's career. Like, I don't see him bouncing back without people just in there being afraid of him. Like I think he's there to be eaten. Like people have seen him break.
I'm taken out of the whole conversation. I'm thinking about that deal.
Oh God. He also had one more. He had one more question for us, and I know you're gonna like this one. How excited are you for the fuckery-filled buildup of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder?
Here for this.
Oh man,
Here for this.
this is gonna be And see, I'm not super into boxing. The last time I watched Tyson Fury was whatever that last fight he had.
The greatest fight of the
And
year.
My two thoughts were, he's built like Dr. Eggman. My second thought was, his fight is going so bad that he's watching the fight in the crowd and not watching his. But man,
That man is the lineal heavyweight champion of the world.
if anything though, this, if you're looking for entertainment, for better or
I'm
worse.
here for the fuckery, man.
Yeah, I don't think it gets much better. I'm all about, at least to some extent, I don't know if you want to call this a train wreck, but it'll be a show, and I'm here for it too.
Oh, it's gonna be a train wreck.
The least entertaining part of the whole thing will be the actual fight.
With the fight itself. Could you fucking imagine if Fury wins that fight? Could you imagine if it's like a clinch fest and he takes like an 8-4, 7-5 type decision?
Oh my God.
What's he gonna sing this time?
Sweet Home Alabama.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
I'm actually really I'm so excited for the shit talk, but I'm actually really worried because Tyson Fury nor Wilder have the ability to not say something that's a little uncomfortable. So
we're gonna get some sound
we're bound to get. Go ahead.
Little.
Well, you know what I mean. We're bound to get at least one. I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of what the worst thing Tyson Fury's ever said. I'm having a hard time.
The anti-Semitic stuff or the homophobic?
The homophobic stuff was the first one that came to mind. But I don't think Wilder's ever said anything like that. I don't believe. He just wants to kill people, apparently. Literally kill them.
Yeah.
Like, what costume superhero do you think Tyson Fury dresses up for this one?
Man,
he dressed up as Batman.
And beat up a Randy. Dude, did you see the presser for the fight that he had where he literally just made fun of how out of shape he was?
You see, this is that traveler self-esteem.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
I hope Tyson Fury's entire shit talk is stuff he's Googled about Alabama. Just no context whatsoever. I did get one. Did you get the question about Cejudo?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so good.
So the homie Real in Place from Tumblr asked, if Cejudo starts fighting right after his gold medal win, like he said he was going to, do we even ever get the DJ title run? My answer is yes.
Yes, we do. Real in Place, by the way, is a great writer.
Great writer. Awesome if you love like old school MMA.
Renaissance man.
Sorry, what was the first part of the question? You said if he fights after what?
If Henry Cejudo starts fighting right after his gold medal win, like he said he was going to do.
Oh, and doesn't take like a break.
Like is there even ever a DJ title run?
No, the title run. Yeah. As much as I hate on DJ, I think that was that was written in the stars, so to speak. I don't think anybody's gonna stop it.
Cejudo would have found a way to kind of fuck himself.
Yeah.
He might not have made
I'm
weight.
not sure Henry Cejudo exists if Mighty Mouse is here, to be honest. Like, if he doesn't have that task in mind. Like, if he doesn't have...
Okay. I thought you were getting deep there for a second. I'm like, he prevented his birth somehow, or
I think, like we said, that a large part of Cejudo coming, just a large part of his early career was just coasting. I can't imagine what that would have been like in like 2009, and he just started.
he might have gotten stomped out really early. And
Well, no, like he would have been like in that WEC era, fighting like
Manny
Brian
Banuelos. And...
Manny Banuelos,
those were good times.
Brian Bowl.
I look back so fondly on those times.
Dude, WEC, my favorite promotion.
Yeah.
Would Cejudo have been on the first tough with the bantamweights though?
Ooh.
Because he would have been like, wow, we could have gotten Cejudo Dillashaw, Cejudo Dodson.
Yeah. Like, you kind of take it for granted, but for like a bantamweight or flyweight, like Cejudo started hella late. Most of these dudes are scrapping at 19 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been like an interesting, like, the Flash alternate reality.
See, like, if it was like Yoel Romero, are you going to do that now?
I feel so bad for because I can hear it whining like it's got to go out or something.
She doesn't have to go out. She just sees me over here and she wants to come on the side of the gate.
We got to talk about Luigi Bowen instead.
Yeah. Now that this is important.
What's her opinion on IHOP versus IHOP?
She hates both.
I see.
Because she's not allowed inside. But like Yoel Romero, I believe if Yoel Romero had started early, there would probably not have been like he'll probably would have been a 205er, to be honest, if he had started like 10 years early. But let's just say he fought at middleweight, I don't think there's an Anderson Silva in the same way there was during that run.
Man, could you imagine Yoel Romero starts earlier and he fights like the Chuck Liddell that fought Rashad Evans?
Oh my god!
Oh my
Rich
god!
Franklin. And...
Dude, he they would not have. Liddell would not be cleared to fight right now.
I'm about to say he wouldn't be alive to take the Tito fight.
Dude.
He would have killed everybody.
Oh my god, Yoel Romero versus Forrest Griffin.
Jesus Christ. He would have had a field day.
Like Yoel Romero versus that middleweight division before like everybody got like big and athletic.
He might have ended up in GOAT status because I don't think nobody back then would have known what to do with a guy like that.
Romero versus Court McGee.
Stop. Leave Court McGee alone. I'm just thinking like Chris Camozzi and like some of these slow, clunky, like moving in lava type dudes.
His highlight reel would be so.
It would be NSFW.
Right.
Like imagine him versus Alessio Sakara.
Oh no, that's not.
Oh man, if you would have plugged him in that Mark Munoz fight with Josh Rosenthal still refereeing.
No, man. Mark Munoz is a nice guy. I wouldn't wish that on him. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
I wouldn't either.
I'm just trying to think of some of like Yushin Okami level guys who are just like big. Like all they've got is that they're big and that they can grapple.
That was like the middleweight division for like a solid 5 years.
Right.
I just.
Yoel Romero versus Chael Sonnen.
Chael would have gotten at least a minute. He would have found a way to win a minute of that fight.
Like all I can think of, like Chael just ducking into a flying knee.
Shogun.
Ooh.
He would. I'm trying to think of like, he would have never lost. He would have fought Anderson.
No.
Anderson would have had a great chance. But you think like, oof, and this was. I don't want to disparage him, but this was the TRT era. So could you imagine a TRT'd up Yoel Romero?
Superhuman.
It's like Super Shredder at the end of the Ninja Turtles movie.
He lands one ground and pound, and it's like when you drop a watermelon on accident. Your head just explodes. Oh my god.
Dude, that was so.
Oh man, that would be.
They would have had to have him fight everybody in one night. Oh my God, Keith Jardine versus Yoel Romero.
Oh. Like,
I mean,
this just sounds like punishment.
It's like release the Romero.
Oh man.
I mean, it's just because just to get back to it, like, I don't see that with Cejudo. You know what I mean? Like, I see the athletic gap, but I don't see like Romero is just a man prone to violence in short shorts.
I think Cejudo's story would have kind of been similar as it is now. It's like we would have looked at him and been like, this guy's gonna be champ one day.
Yeah.
But he's not there.
Cejudo probably needed to lose at some point in order to. He would have lost before he got to Mighty Mouse. He would have found a way. Like, I think he's just one of those guys who needs adversity.
Yeah, like he would have ran into like a Benavidez. He would have ran into one of those guys who like he would have put up a good effort, but he would have fell short.
But you look at the guys, right? But you look at the guys like Brad Pickett and Scott Jorgensen, and he probably would have ran through most of those guys comfortably. No, he wouldn't have run through them comfortably at all. He would have 29-28 them with like no effort, because he would have been so much just a natural talent. Man, it's hard to go back to Cejudo after thinking of Romero, Mortal Kombat level violence.
Right. Oh
Jesus
man.
Christ, Rich Franklin would have never taught another class.
There'd be no one championship. He would have never made it over there. Oh god. Was that all the questions?
That's everything.
That's everything that I only got one. So unless you want to address Stokes's.
He wants to know what was his question again?
He had more of a complaint or a comment. Something about TJ Dillashaw. I can't find it now, but it was not flattering.
Why is TJ a bitch?
I don't have the answer for that, Stokes.
I'm gonna go with he was raised that way.
First off, we don't know anything about Mom and Pop Dillashaw, all right?
Oh man, I don't know. Stokes might have some insider info.
But he's not here. He's training.
Has he ever told us like the real reason? I feel like we have this conversation.
He did tell us like he had stories. I don't think he ever told us like what stories he had, but
we'll have to do this in like we'll do like a DTP secret vault episode. We'll throw that on there.
He's training. He's training for the garden bar, not garden. Where was the barbecue? For his barbecue fight main event.
Stokes is like that guy who hated Dominic Cruz. So he told me he was going to go to the gym and get in shape so he could play Dominic Cruz and beat his ass.
Did he ever?
I doubt it.
I thought this was going to lead to some like, and that's how Cody Garbrandt became some like 30 for 30.
Oh man, but I appreciate the questions from you guys. Special shout outs to the Tumblr fan base. You guys always like and repost, so definitely appreciate that. So and anytime you have a question, you can just send it to dojotalkpodcast@yahoo.com, and we will answer them on the show. But that's about all we got. So I guess we can get into parting shots and shout outs. As always, I always like have a shot in my head, and then I get old and forget who I was angry at. So I don't have a shot. But I will give my shout out. I will go to LeBron James. If you haven't heard by now, he built a school out in Akron, Ohio. School has all kinds of just awesomeness going on. You got kids getting free bikes and helmets. I think they have like I want to say it was like a GED program for the parents.
GED and job placement.
Yeah, job placement, like a lot of awesome things. And like I think one of the perks was like if you graduate and go to University of Akron, you get like guaranteed free tuition. So just he's just doing a lot of awesome things. So whether or not how you feel about him on the court is one thing, but off the court, he's using his platform for something great, and I think that's awesome. And I actually just saw an article posted about 20, 30 minutes ago. He has a partner deal, or he's doing something with Showtime. He has a 3-part documentary series come out, which is called Shut Up and Dribble. Which, if you guys know any tiffs LeBron's been in, you may know where that title came from. But he's got that coming out. So yeah, shout outs to LeBron James for just doing a lot of awesome things off the court, really using this platform for something positive, and helping like at-risk kids too. Like, this isn't a school just for like, privileged kids or kids who can afford it. Like, these are for at-risk youth, like the people who really need the help the most are going to be able to
Kids
get
like
it.
LeBron
So
who just don't turn into like 6'10" ridiculous athletes.
Right. So this is really, really awesome to see. So yeah, my shout out is to LeBron.
So who's next?
I'll go. Well, for starters, shout out to Vivian Obanoff. She knocked out Natasha Jonas, who was a former UK boxing team member. She was part of that small group of like British women's boxers who were really on the come up, like her, Nicole Adams, Chantel Cameron? Yeah, like small group, all being like they're all on these like undercards for like these big fights, and they're being built up. So, this Brazilian woman, Vivian Abanoff, she actually fought. Who she fight? She fought Katie Taylor and Chantel Cameron lost. So she was kind of just like the setup woman, or the opponent. But she went out there and she knocked out Natasha Jonas in the 4th round. Actually got the corner to throw in the towel. Really big upset, probably the biggest in like this. I'm not gonna say the biggest in the history of women's boxing, because there've been some bigger ones, but one of the bigger upsets of the year, just from like a narrative perspective. So shouts to her. I already said shouts to Alvarez. So I'm gonna throw shouts to all the because you mentioned LeBron. I'm gonna throw shouts to all the celebrities out here trying to help kids go to school. Celebrities, particularly like Derrick Rose, just threw down $400,000 to send a bunch of high schoolers through college. 21 Savage. I'm not even a fan of his music, but the dude hooked up an entire city, I can't remember where, with like backpacks and school supplies. So he's out here doing work in the community. Alimale McFarland, she's out here helping young girls in Hawaii and Central America get like scholarships to go to school. Dustin Poirier, who was a week ago handed out like 500 backpacks down in Louisiana. Like, anybody out there trying to make a positive change, just shouts to you. So that's all I got.
Okay. So I'm up.
Yeah.
I'd like to first start with a shout out to Pennsylvania State Troopers for keeping our highways safe from dangerous speedsters.
Wow.
A lot of people out there who are inconsiderate and reckless, trying to cause problems.
Wow.
So just want to start with them. Are you right?
No.
You right? All right. Sure. Okay. Just waiting for you to calm down. On the same vein of what you were talking about, John Jones just recently did the same thing, donated a bunch of school supplies to Robert F. Kennedy Middle School in Albuquerque. So once again, good on him. Same for Dustin Poirier. Same for anybody trying to make the smallest difference they possibly, not necessarily aiming to make the smallest difference, but aiming to make any difference, big or small, in our crazy, chaotic world. Dustin Poirier, I believe, is auctioning off his fight shorts for I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but he's he normally does this. Sometimes it's the last one that I remember was for like a cop who had gotten killed in Louisiana. So the Good Fight Foundation. It's also to buy school supplies. So I like it. I like good stuff. And parting shots, I kind of really don't have one. I feel like I kind of lost my mind with Rogan a little bit, politely, respectfully. People who speed, thumbs down to them. I don't know why Stokes isn't here. Hopefully he's okay and all is well. But if he skipped out to not take his medicine, then finger wag to him. Little finger wag there. See what you're doing, pal.
I don't think Stokes has ever been on the show after like a TJ Dillashaw win.
But we don't know what's going on. I don't want to disparage the poor guy.
I mean, he explicitly stated that he would have come on if TJ.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that. I see.
Yeah.
Stokes, you were still the most beloved member of the DTP, and but shame, disappointment. No bonus night for you. No bonus at night. Other than that, just again, say it every time I'm here. Gonna repeat it for the next time. Be nice to people, and always try to make the people in your lives happy, and be the best you can to do the best you can to be the best you can. Because we got a lot of people who are just trying to be the bare minimum as it pertains to being a human being. So always try to be good. And
go above and beyond. Raise the bar.
Absolutely. Make sure you attempt to better the lives of everybody you come across. Don't speed, because dangerous. Don't drive while asleep.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm 30 miles up the room.
I see. All right. Understood. I don't have a wrestling story. There's no wrestling story to end it on. So that's it. Oh, and I suppose if I do have one last parting shot, don't be that guy who wants to see. Don't be the guy who wants this Covington Woodley beef to be political. Please don't. MMA is not nuanced enough for that. So
I mean, Woodley and Covington are nuanced enough for that.
How dare you?
More Covington than Woodley, but
and I guess we do have to. Let's be honest. Good for Colby Covington visiting the White House, because I want this to be a practice that continues regardless of who the president is. So, regardless of who's in office, I want UFC champions to be represented among the elites of the sporting world. So,
I don't care if you go.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't impact me. It's not going to impact my life personally. Just saying.
If you want to do it.
I want them to be. I want as many champions going anywhere and being represented for their accomplishments, even if your accomplishment is an interim title.
Well, he's not the interim champion anymore. He's been stripped.
Nah, he's not.
Yeah.
He's been stripped. He is lying.
You don't have to be. Here's the thing about that. They don't have to strip him. Like, if he's just the number one contender, just let him keep it. Like, he's not going to defend the belt.
So you just get like a participation.
No, just hold on to it. It's a number one contender trophy. But yeah, always try to be better. And to all you folks getting prepared for your next semester of college or whatever, good luck.
Yeah, good luck. I'm out of that life.
Yeah, good luck, because it sucks. So.
It really does.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Thank you guys for listening. It was a long one, but it's a lot of gems, a lot going on. It's a pretty awesome card, so it was worth it. But I'm really hungry.
Same, actually, and
I'm going to go solve that issue.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys once again for listening to the Dojo Talk podcast. As always, anytime people are being punched and or kicked in the face, we will be there to talk about it, and we will catch you guys next time.